Yup.
I just
And
said
Ben,
no
go
intro.
ahead and kick this off.
I just said no intro. Oh, he frozen.
And welcome back into the Sporting Lounge. Nah, just fucking with you guys.
He
As
really
always.
had you fooled, Austin.
Grab a beer, kick up your feet. As always,
Oh.
we got me as a host, T Rizzle. We've got Shane streaming live right now on Derpamation, Twitch/Derpamation.tv or whatever the hell it is. Right there above him. Go follow.
Derpination.
And as always, our gracious host, Austin, who loves way too fruity shirts for himself, but we still love him.
This isn't fruity.
It's a little fruity, bro. I was thinking. I think he was looking a little hubba bubba when you came in, bro. You know what I'm saying? You looking like a little.
Why are you jealous?
You looking like a little Jolly
style?
Rancher. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Why are you
Hey,
jealous
you
of the
saying
style?
you
Looking like a
bro.
little. You looking like a little Skittle right now, bro. I don't know.
Yo, he macking on you right now. I'm just gonna say that right out.
You're
So-
looking pretty sweet, boy.
No, you should have
Listen.
seen the picture he sent to us
Listen.
when he got his haircut.
Oh,
Chaz says you have style, just so you
He
know.
looks
Thank
exactly
you, 708. Thank you.
All right.
Anyways, hold on. If anyone was Mac on anyone, it was Travis 2 nights ago with Shane. Or was it
Oh, I don't disbelieve it. I believe it.
He
110.
called him a 9 out of 10 on the Richter scale. Like,
Oh, I thought we were just talking about inches.
he's like, when he drops it, it's an earthquake.
It's true. It's true.
No,
I do have a dump truck of an ass.
It was funny because don't answer that question, Travis, and Austin just straight muted him in the Discord.
I server muted his ass. So he
Okay,
couldn't
do you
talk.
guys want to give a little more context? Actually, no, don't give more context.
Yeah,
This is
no,
worse
I
with
get-
no
no,
more
I was
context.
saying it
not
only gets
needed right
worse.
now.
It's worse.
It's worse with the. Okay, let me explain. I have a Dark Magician Girl cosplay,
Yeah.
and that's all you need to know.
Only
Thicker than a
context-
bowl of oatmeal, baby. That's all I gotta say.
It's fun. It's funny because now it's like kind of loose on me. Like when I put it on yesterday, it was like kind of baggy on me compared to like how it used to be like tight on me. Anyways, we're here to talk about sports, not me looking sexy. So
before we
I
get
wanna talk about
into
style.
looking something.
before we get
Shut the
into the
fuck up.
football
You're so
season,
ugly.
you know, the Lions, because I know Travis wants to talk on that because that was a great win. But Damian Lillard traded in a 3-way trade involving the Heat, the Bucks, and Portland. Portland got a bag. And
I think they did
Giannis
pretty
may
well.
win another chip.
Yeah.
The Heat got screwed, and they gave up Tyler Hero, who was a great young rotational player.
The Heat.
You got the trade pulled up then?
The
You
Heat
wanna
were
go over
involved.
everything involved?
The Heat were
The Heat were
involved.
involved.
It was
I
Brooklyn.
thought- Yeah, Brooklyn,
It was Brooklyn.
Portland, Milwaukee. Those are the three.
All right, I'm gonna go
My
over
bad, I
what
misspoke.
what every team received. So the Bucks got Damian Lillard, Blazers got Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Tuami Kamara. However,
It
you say
wasn't
his name.
Brooklyn, it was the Suns.
He's a sixth guy.
The Suns, yeah.
He's a sixth or
Bucks-
seventh guy, but he's solid.
Bucks-
He's young too.
Bucks 2029 first round pick unprotected, and they swapped rights on Bucks 2028 and 2030 picks. The Suns receive Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson.
Keon Johnson's not bad.
I like Nurkic as
Who's the
well.
other?
And I like Nurkic too.
So I'm not
I
upset
think
by
Phoenix.
that.
I think Phoenix has better depth than they did beforehand, so it worked out that way.
But
Yeah.
they did give up
Check chat.
DeAndre Ayton, bro. Like, that's...
I'm surprised they traded him
Me too.
a little bit.
Me too. I mean, Portland Trailblazers getting Ayton and Drew Holiday, that's going to be nice, plus some picks. So that's always good. The Bucks obviously are in win
Mhm.
right now mode with Giannis and Lillard. And the Suns, I'm not sure where they were trying to go with this trade. Like, I see no direction for why they were even involved. Like,
Depth. Just
They didn't
free
want to
depth,
deal with
essentially.
DeAndre Ayton anymore.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
Yeah. Okay, so
They
if
were
you
like,
guys,
oh, it might have been, one of those situations where there was trade talks already happening before, and they were like, we'll just clump this in because it gives us more assets. Because they did end up getting assets from both teams, correct? I believe they both. I think they got one asset from the Trailblazers or two assets from the Trailblazers and one from the Bucks.
Yep.
So like, might as well just throw it all in there. Whatever. Make it so we only had to sign one document.
Okay, so real quick, if you guys had to grade the trade, how would you grade it?
Bucks A+. I think Suns probably about a B. And or not the Trailblazers. I don't know why I said Suns. I just brain farted so bad. I'm sorry. Trailblazers.
Don't do that.
I think it was about a B. Like losing Dame is a lot. But if they trust their foundation that much, it might end up being a good trade in 3 or 4 years. But you lost Dame, so like the thing is with Dame is he's so fucking good. He's just on bad teams year in and year out. He's like, we were looking into the stats. Austin and I before the last episode. We were talking about it a little bit before. He's only missed the All-Star game twice in his career. And, he's never made it to the finals or anything. His teams are consistently bad. They're not a very high-seeded team usually. It's tough. But Dame is elite. Dame is an elite player. I'm willing to say that he's a top 5 to top 10 player currently. And I think you put him next to the Greek Freak, baby. We start cooking with some gasoline. So because of that, I give Portland about a B. I give Milwaukee an A. And I think the Suns just kind of, I think it was just a lateral, more movement type trade. It was like, we're swapping out players. I think it was about a B. That's where I was.
Portland gave up 3 players total and a couple picks.
I think that regardless, whatever team, Milwaukee in this case got Dame, obviously gets an A+.
Yep.
And then Phoenix and Portland, I'm going to both give B+. I think Phoenix ended up with a lot more depth, and they got rid of DeAndre Ayton and his attitude that they don't like and his contract situation. Jurkic is going to be great, and they got Keon Johnson's pretty good. They got a lot of depth that they didn't have. That was their big problem after making the trades for KD. They decimated their bench. It was their starting 5 and nothing. And now they have some rotational pieces that's going to do a lot in the playoffs.
Yep. It'll help a lot. The Suns, the big issue with them last season, low-key, no one wants to admit it. They had some of the highest met played players in the whole NBA. Getting a good 6th and 7th guy, that's a big deal. I'm not a big fan of these rest days where players are just missing games, but you can't be having your all-star players playing 35, 36 minutes every night. You just can't. You're asking for trouble at that point.
I think
otherwise.
I think I agree with Travis because Phoenix really did something sneaky here. Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Jurkic, and Keon Johnson, and Grayson Allen coming off the bench. That's actually, and Eric Gordon, he's still semi-relevant. That's actually some depth. Bol will take. Yeah. They're actually, sneaky depth now because you've already got the superstars Booker and KD. Now you just need Bradley Beal to play up to, a good high average standard he's put up before.
He plays at a high level when he plays. He's just got to stay healthy for more than 50 games a season. That's been his issue the last couple of years.
That's what I'm saying. But they have enough rotational players. They can, kind of say, hey, we don't need to put him in 40 minutes a game. We can put him in 25 and have him, go freak out for 25 and rest. So I actually, I'm sort of liking what they did here. I mean, obviously, I love the Bucks. So
Milwaukee is now the favorite to win at plus 360, and then the Suns are third at plus 550 to win the chip.
So, on a little bit of a side tangent, what are we thinking about the Pelicans right now?
They go as Zion goes.
Yeah,
You mean
I don't know.
Zion
looks the best he's looked in years.
That's what they say every off season.
I think
the last 2 years, he was just kind of gaining a lot of weight and I don't got a lot of room to talk, but just from a professional aspect, he was a little bit heavier set than he should have been, and it definitely didn't help with his injuries. Last season that was a big talking point, and the season before is an even bigger one. But now he's looking jacked again. He's looking like he did when he was playing at Duke. Just more man. he looks like a fucking outside linebacker in the NFL. He looks like Julius Peppers when he was in his prime. But I just wanted to touch on the Pelicans a little bit. It's a team I'm interested in.
He's kind of small, so
Yeah, only 6'6", only 300 pounds. Whatever.
He'd squish you.
Tiny,
Like a-
tiny little guy. Tiny little guy. Yeah.
you should bulk up some more.
But yeah,
But what?
I'm excited. I'm excited for that team. But
I am too. I really like them a lot. I really believe in Brandon Ingram. I think he's
That's who I would have brought up.
Small forward in the league.
But back to what we were talking about: the Bucks, Milwaukee, Packers, Lions last night. Let's go ahead and talk about this.
Montgomery, 3 touchdowns. He saw Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert put up 4, and he said, I'll get 3. Like, that's a touchdown barrage by running backs last week. Dude.
Can we talk about until the closing seconds of the first half?
Can we talk about how Romeo Dobbs got 5 yards?
Total yards.
Yeah, that was
Romeo
nice.
Dobbs did good.
No, he was 5 yards away from me having a chance to beat Austin. And he said, I'm done on 9 catches, 95. So, no.
Yeah.
Romeo Dobbs, I'm pissed.
I wish you had started Christian Watson.
Now, I thought about it. I flip-flopped him. But as Travis was saying, I think I posted during the game, like, the Lions' defense is sneaky good. They have been extremely
What was
efficient.
the score of that game, by the way?
34-20, but they realistically gave up 9 of them in garbage time for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
I was watching the game. We didn't address the score yet. 34-20 Lions won. Pretty dominant performance at that. That's what we're talking about directly. Lions defense was holding stout on that Packers offense. They made Jordan Love look like a punk. They were playing soft coverage in the fourth quarter because they were up I think they were up 24, 27 points at one point.
Yeah. Jordan Love finally played a good defense.
Yeah.
And he still had an okay game. He was
okay,
sacked
yeah.
5 times, though. That was a big thing.
Yeah, I was about to say
Adrian
that. Pass rush?
Hudson had his way.
Yeah,
With-
3 of them
Yeah.
were like in the first quarter, I believe, too.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was-
As
Now
well.
the Lions are tied with my Pittsburgh Steelers in first place in the NFL for sacks at 13.
Yeah, they went from having 0 through 2 weeks to exploding into the next 2.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell's going to show people what it means to play against them. And you know what the best part is? They're 2-0 away from their home stadium at the moment.
No, the best part is X-rays were negative on Brian Branch. That's the best part.
Yes, that was a big thing. That was
Oh, yeah,
scary.
because Travis during the game was like, oh, he tore his Achilles.
I was like,
What did I say? What did I say?
Like he did every time when a player goes down.
I
Like,
fear the worst. Especially
What did I say?
talented. This boy's talented.
We both
Yeah.
said Travis, he's full of shit. And he's
What
probably-
was the injury I said it was?
Ankle sprain.
Ankle sprain, and what was it?
Who knows?
Sprained ankle.
Now, my
Ankle injury, and it wasn't a tear? Like,
It could have been
My-
a rip.
it could have been a rip. That would show on x-rays, wouldn't it?
now
Yeah.
my one thing I want to bring up on this game is the carry disparity between Montgomery and Gibbs. Like they said, they're going to have Gibbs come along slowly. 8 carries to Montgomery's 32. Now, granted, a lot of them were in the fourth quarter to just run out the clock, like third and fourth quarter. So we understand. But, I mean, that's a big disparity. We're talking 4 times more, or 400% the carries between them.
Well,
even in garbage time.
You want?
Fantasy wise,
So
if you have Montgomery in garbage time at any point, he's worth playing. He's worth starting. He's worth flexing. Week in,
here's
week
my
out, he's
thing,
done well.
The thing is with Gibbs, I think he will develop into that running back 1 role, but I think they did a really smart move getting Montgomery on a 2-year deal, I believe it was. They get to develop Gibbs until they're ready to give him the reins, and they don't have to use him yet because Montgomery is doing enough. Montgomery is looking, dare I say, very Bettis-like. Not a super high yards per attempt, but consistently getting it, over 3.5 yards, just enough where you're able to grind the ball consistently with him. You know, and some of those rushes are 2 yards, some of them are 4 or 5 yards, but it works out because you end up getting the first down, and that's what you're looking for. You know, Jahmyr Gibbs, that's their lightning in the bottle. They haven't had to even release it yet. You know,
and now they're getting Jamison Williams back because
2
weeks sooner.
Yep.
So do we want to touch on that right now?
Yeah, we have. One second on that. There's going to be a lot of speed that is accessible to this Detroit offense, and we've been playing without our offensive line being fully healthy. We can only get better. I think our offense is going to get more dangerous. There's a lot of mouths to feed, and we want Gibbs healthy for a playoff push and division run, and we're gonna release him towards the later half of the season. Montgomery's still gonna get his touches, but we'll utilize Gibbs more as the season goes on, and we get more pieces back, and we see what we fully have with that offense. So
the biggest thing that's making Jared Goff look so good, like he has been. Before I get into this, let's go ahead and talk about the suspension thing that happened in the NFL. Ben just mentioned it. Before we get into our focus player of the week, who is Jared Goff, let's go ahead and talk about that suspension.
So if you bet, even if it's not on your team, like if you bet on football, it's 1 year automatic suspension. If it's on your team, it's 2 years. If you're ever found guilty of fixing, it's automatic banishment. And now if you bet on any grounds of work, you know, the stadiums, the practice field, the locker rooms, anything, hotels, anything like that, it will be considered 2-game suspension at first, second violation 6. I can't remember all the.
And then third full season at least. At least. It's a full season at least.
I've seen a lot of people get mad because they didn't know the difference between what Jamison Williams and Calvin Ridley did. I was like, you guys should, one, Calvin Ridley bet on his team and on the NFL games. Jamison Williams bet on a different sport while he was at a hotel, and he's a rookie and didn't know the rules. And under the new rules, Calvin Ridley would have been suspended a year longer than what he was suspended for. So he's back already. They should be happy.
You know, I do think the Calvin Ridley thing is a little bit bullshit when you compare it to Deshaun Watson. I'll always honestly, there was a time where I was like, I don't know if I want to watch NFL football anymore. When the Deshaun Watson suspension was only 7 games and Calvin Ridley got a full season for betting his team was going to win. You know,
when he's not even playing.
When he's not playing, he has no impact on the game, actually. And he's betting on his team. If he bet on the other team, that's one thing. But he bet on the Falcons to win. You know, he's betting on, obviously, what benefits him and his team. Right. You know, he's not being weird about it. You know, we're not talking about Pete Rose situation. You know, we're not talking about Black Sox situation.
So random stats real quick. Through 4 games, the Lions total offense ranks 6th. Lions total defense ranks 6th also. And they're getting Jamison Williams back, and their offensive line's only going to get healthier.
Hopefully.
We'll see how much impact Jamison Williams has.
I think he'll have more real-life impact just because he is a deep threat. You got to be aware of where he is on the field at all times, and you have that kind of speed and then Gibbs on the field at the same time. That becomes scary for defenses to deal with, a la Miami's. And it's going to open up a lot of options. It's going to be hard to double team people that you want to in certain packages and certain looks. But I don't think it's necessarily going to mean a lot for fantasy if that's what you're looking for. If you think he's going to jump right in and be a wide receiver 2 or something like that, I think you're crazy.
You know what's crazy? If you place a bet on your own team, it's 2 years. But if you place a bet on any team, if you place a bet on any team, it's 2 years or 1 year.
Yep.
But if you place it on your own team, it's 2 years. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing to me is I think players should be allowed to bet on their own team. If you're betting on yourself to win, I think that should be 100% fine. No, because what's the give there? What's the negative if a player bets on his own team?
Yeah, there'd have to be a third party that's helping you fix the game at that point. Then at that point, there's a leak in that.
There's a different issue.
That's
That's a different issue.
Logically speaking, I'm with you here, but
I don't agree with the 1 year suspension on any team in the NFL. Especially if it's not your team. Why Why a year? I hate that. That's so dumb to me.
Then, like, back to the Deshaun Watson thing. 30-plus sexual assaults. 30 women won't ever be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And he only got 7 games, and you can't even bet on your own team.
It ended up being
No.
11.
He got 7
11.
games and like 250 million guaranteed too.
Wasn't it 11 at the end? Because it came back
it
week
climbed
12
to
against
34
Houston.
different allegations.
Yeah. You say 11 games, Ben?
Yeah,
total?
didn't he come back week 12?
It might have been
Against
11.
Houston?
It might have been
Yeah,
11
right.
games.
Like,
Yeah,
they
but
made him
still,
start against his old team?
Yeah, like, there's still, 6 games there that he shouldn't even have been on the field for at least, let alone him ever playing in the NFL again.
Yeah, and only got fined $5 million.
Disgusting. Disgusting.
No,
But-
he had what the NFL failed to do there, what they could have done, is they knew that if he did come back and a team was interested in him, he had a contract coming up. They should have said, okay, if you're going to finish like you did self-impose yourself 1 year, they should have made it a full second year, and then 35% of your contract or more, like 50% of your contract that you sign, how about automatically gets sent
To a charity.
something? Yeah. So that way he's not just pocketing, like you said, he got fined $5 million, then turn around gets
So fucking what?
220 some million guaranteed.
Yeah.
Well,
Like, no, that's not.
well,
cool.
I mean, so when you look at his contract, right, he got the league minimum for year 1, which is when his suspension without pay was. And then every year after that is significantly more, 25, 30 million or whatever the hell it is. But year 1,
So
he
the
only
Browns
got...
literally set up the contract so the sexual assaulter.
That's literally how it happened because the Browns knew he was going to get suspended. So they gave him a contract where he would lose the least amount of money year 1, which is when he was getting suspended.
Disgusting. It's a proud day to be a Steelers fan. I gotta say that.
Is it a
But
proud day
anyways,
to be the Steelers
No,
fan?
The Browns, with the contract at least, gamed the shit out of the system.
Yeah, they sure did. But Jared Goff, our focus player of the week. Let's circle back into that, talking about quarterbacks. So let's talk about a less scummy one.
I want to say something real quick. I think Jared Goff is the new era. Like, this is the new era Drew Brees and the Saints offense, the way they work and who they have.
No, he's
Quick system release quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
well.
You got
He
thunder
didn't
lightning
play
in
a
the
great
backfield.
game.
Jared, like,
Continue.
But I'm not saying like production wise from this last game. I'm saying like in general the way they look and how their offense is running. That's like my comparison. I think that they're like the New Orleans Saints from 2010 to 2019 2.0.
not nearly as good though.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Like,
I
we're
was
talking
saying.
half the production.
He had
So they're gonna do a
68%
little,
completion. Go ahead.
I said, so they're going to pay their players to hit people a little harder?
Oh, Bounty Gate. You gotta do it.
Pay him when it won a Super Bowl without Bounty Gate. Let's be honest.
They will win. So
Yeah, you were very passionate about that the other day, Shane.
I was mad Steelers came out of halftime. Our Saints came out at halftime in the Super Bowl and kicked an onside field goal, but it worked. So
The onside kick? Yeah.
Onside kick.
yeah, I said field goal. My bad.
Onside field goal. I'm on
Onside
that one.
field
What
goal.
is
That's crazy.
Onside kick.
Did you just invent something?
I did.
Is that just like a
Interesting.
kick that's a pass to a player and then they catch it and take it to
Yeah, it's like an
It's
arm
only-
punt.
Okay.
You know what Jordan Love did at the end of the game? It's just an arm punt.
Yeah,
You
it's great.
Okay, that makes sense.
So for
I'll go
golf,
grab a drink.
68% completion. He had 210 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 carries, 10 yards. He was in a very effective game manager. None of those are going to blow your mind or have a great thing. But then again, they didn't have to beat the Packers through the air. You had David Montgomery for 3 touchdowns. So
That's all Jared Goff needs to be, too.
exactly.
Like, he needs nothing more, nothing less than just a pure game manager for that Lions. And their defense is going to have their back. They play phenomenal.
Honestly,
So as
his
long as Jared
contract's
Goff-
looking very fair.
Yeah. I mean, what is his contract even right now? Let me look it
Oh,
up.
I
I
got
yeah.
it from the Rams.
I think he's under for like 28 million or something, 27 or 28 million right now a year.
All right, that's fair.
Right, especially in today's market where 40 is, the average. He signed a 4-year, 134 million with the Rams.
His base salary is 21 million.
Yep, basically 21.
Okay.
And he's locked up this year and next year. So they could decide to either move on, or if they get a big enough step out of him this year and next, 2 4,000 plus passing seasons, they might say screw
They'll
it.
resign him. They'll resign him, I bet. Because, I mean, at the end of the contract, he'll be, 31-ish, probably turning 31.
Get another 4 years out of him.
Yeah, they still have another solid 4 years of him.
Yeah.
That's or if they want him.
Maybe Hooker has progressed far enough where they're okay letting Jared Goff walk or something. I don't know.
That's a big risk. Like, here's the thing. A guy can practice
is a big
great.
Risk.
A guy can practice great, but when you have a great starting quarterback, you run it. You know what I mean? Like, you see over the years, you see bridge guys, and when you have a guy, especially at an important position like quarterback, especially at an important position like edge rusher, especially at an important position like middle linebacker, especially at an important position like offensive tackle, like when you have those type of position guys that are just good and they're playing at an elite level, hydrate, thank you, chat. You keep them. You make sure that they're happy. Etika, like TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith this offseason for both the Steelers, both very high-end pass rushers. Myles Garrett, he got a payday. Micah Parsons, he's in line to get a payday. Patrick Mahomes, think of Fred Warner got taken care of. Players that mean a lot to these teams that are integral parts will go ahead and stay. And Jared Goff, I think, is carving out that side of him. And I wasn't that hot on him. And if he continues to play like this, I will say I was wrong.
You see, so for me, it's very tough because I don't like the idea of paying a quarterback $40 to $50 million. And I feel like Jared Goff keeps playing like this. That's what he's going to essentially want or demand. And the team's going to give it to him, but I think that really sets the team back a lot, pretty far, especially when you got to re-sign Aiden Hutchinson or Brian Branch or any of those key players over the life of the contract, right? Because Aiden Hutchinson's going to be coming up.
Aiden Hutchinson's got 3 years.
Yeah, but by the time but I'm talking about over the life of the contract, right? Not just at the same time they got to be re-signed.
And it's still the 5th-year option, so really it's like 4 years, really.
Yeah, so he'll be 2 years into a new mega deal, is what Austin's saying. Is like, are they going to have the money?
He won't get a mega deal.
I think Jared Goff will actually.
I think he will.
I
think he might demand it.
I think he'll act like what the team's got going on right now. I think he'll end up accepting like anywhere between 32 to 36 million a year and call it capiche.
Well, and also that's 2 years that they get to exploit the contract with the money. They presumably aren't going to sign any big name players that are going to hit the cap space super hard in the next couple seasons because they're looking good on a lot of positions. I don't know what free agent that they're going to sign that will be that big of a splash that will affect that cap space following the Jared Goff presumed signing. But the thing is, with Aiden Hutchinson, Jared Goff would be 2 years into his new deal. They could front load it. They could be or they could even, chat said this, maybe they only sign him to a 2-year deal because of his age. He's not a proven quarterback like Tom Brady or Drew Brees where you're comfortable signing him for 4 or 5 years later on in his career, like a Ben Roethlisberger or Phillip Rivers, someone like that. Phillip Rivers' last contract was a year with the Colts, but whatever. The rest of his contracts before that was 4 or 5 years. But he's not that type of quarterback yet, and he hasn't proven that. But he does have the potential to do so, and he's got time to do it. In these next 2 years, if he plays lights out and the Lions, God forbid, get a playoff win or two, and maybe even they manage to run the table,
which I wouldn't be surprised.
Then, it's one of those things.
If we make the conference championship game in the next 2 years, then I think he could get 40 million. But I think we have a roster that eventually could, but I still think there's 3 teams better than us in the NFC, and it would require us to beat one of those teams to make it that far. So
at least one.
and on
Yeah,
the
I
road.
mean, yeah, and Jared Goff will still be relatively young with the new contract too. So they could do a 2-year contract, maybe. They could also do a 4. I bet a lot of teams will probably try and do the 4-year contract.
Yeah, with the Lions, what they do is they front load it, so then they could re-sign Aiden Hutchinson and pretty much have extra money to go ahead and maintain the roster.
Yeah, over the next 3 years, they got a lot of big pieces of their team. Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra, Hutch, Brian Branch, and then Goff, all at the same time, all within the same 3-year period. So they're going to have to work people's contracts out smartly. Front load Goff's, backload Hutches, and then have Amon-Ra.
Yeah,
Amon-Ra, you can do what you want because for some reason the wide receiver market's still fairly cheap compared to other positions, so that works out in their favor.
And Chad just said, and he's not close to best ever. 2 years is a safe deal. I think 2 years is a safe deal, right?
Yep.
I'm just saying. I just think they might.
If you're Jared Goff's agent, are you trying to give him a 2-year deal or a 4-year deal, though? And you know that there's teams that will give him that 4-year deal.
Right.
That's the issue, and I think that's what Austin was mentioning.
Goff.
Am I right, Austin?
Yeah, Goff had
because if the
4,400
Lions want to compete, they're going to have to give him that long-term money deal because teams are going to offer that, regardless if the Lions or not. Teams will.
Goff had almost 4,500 yards last season, and what was it, 65.1% completion percentage, and 29 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, so 1 touchdown away from 30. And this season right now, he's on pace for about 4,100 yards and 32 touchdowns and 12 interceptions is what his pace is at right now.
Mm-hmm.
But he's on pace he's 69.5% completion percentage, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think he definitely finishes around the 4,500 again this year, and if he has that kind of yardage again, above 65% completion percentage and 30 plus touchdowns, like relatively 2 years in a row, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets the Lions' first playoff win since before any of us were born.
Yeah.
He's gonna get 4 years. If those things happen, it's
now.
Because
I do want to point out the stipulation. Obviously, what happens if Goff goes down? God forbid, I'm not praying on an injury, and Hooker comes in. What is the level that Hooker has to play? If Goff is considered 100% of a scale from 0 to 100%, where does Hooker have to play to take that starting job over?
I don't think it's really about Hooker. I think it's more about Jared Goff.
If Jared Goff went down
with an injury,
Jared Goff would have to go down with either an injury,
exactly,
or just in terms of his play. I don't think it's.
Well, he's saying like when
it's
Goff
off his job to
injury,
lose.
How well did Hooker have to play while he was gone
to keep the starting job?
Keep it over Goff when he's healthy again. That's what he's saying.
Win
I
out.
think he can play exceptionally well because I think it's a
make it the playoffs
system offense that it's fail proof. So you can't just put up similar numbers to Goff or slightly.
He has to do way
you think
more
he
on the
needs
ground.
to play above 100%?
I think he'd not. I'm not saying like bulks. I'm not saying he needs to go out and throw 5,000 yards.
Sure, right.
That's crazy. But like, he needs to show that he can take the offense to a different level, show a new dimension in the offense.
Hence why I said run more.
Yeah,
that's not needed with Gibbs, though.
Well, I'm talking about that would open up a whole nother avenue that Goff doesn't do. That have similar passing numbers, but be more dynamic in the pocket, take less sacks, escapability, have more rushing yards. Like he has to be.
The Lions run a lot of West Coast looks.
Yes,
the Lions run a lot of West Coast looks. So a lot of dink and dunks to like Jahmyr Gibbs or Montgomery in the backfield, or a little tight end curl that's a yard or two out the line. That's a steam valve. The Lions run a lot of those looks. So that's why they aren't as reliant as on the run as other teams, but they still do run the ball a lot. I do believe they rank top 10 in rush attempts per game. Let me double check that stat though.
All right, while you're double checking that, I'm gonna read what Chat just said. He said, "I draft and groom a QB and sign for 2-year paying high. Then you have 2 years to groom the next guy, and you'll still have him on his rookie deal after 2 years of sitting." Yep. I'm cool with that. I think a lot more teams should be doing that. Like it's
Detroit
I
is
think
ranked 5th in rush attempts per game, by the way.
I think
I like
far
it.
more often, right? Drafting a quarterback and then starting them right away is detrimental
Wrong
to their
move.
success. Yeah.
Just
So
because
I
it
really like what Chad is saying
depletes
there.
confidence, destroys QB's confidence if they don't do well, and that's huge in the NFL.
Yep.
110%.
Speaking of confidence, I have confidence that the Jaguars are going to get back on track this week with good old Trevor
Oh.
Lawrence against the Falcons, Desmond Ritter.
I got. Here we go. I got something I actually
Oh,
saved.
You ready
specifically
for this?
specifically for this?
Okay, well, I'll
Specifically
read
for
the
this
money line
conversation.
real quick. Falcons against the Jaguars. Jaguars are -3 favorites, so they expect them to win by at least a field goal. So I think I'll take that. I think that I'm going to take the Jags -3. I don't see this being a close one. I think Ritter fails against a better defense. And, I mean, he did good against Green Bay, but he squallered against Detroit. So I think the Jags defense are just as good. I like this for the get right game for Lawrence, Etienne, Ridley, just the whole offense. I think they're going to do great comparatively.
And
Anyone
they got Josh Allen, that is a really good player that no one's talking about.
defensive end.
Defensive end Josh Allen. Yep. Very good player that doesn't get a lot of the credit he deserves because he's not a sack guy, but he is the type of guy where he stops the run so well, and he also does put pressure on the quarterback. He does a great job of both of those things, and a lot of times that's what you need out of a defensive end. The sacks are flashy when it comes to defensive end, especially in a 3-4 build like Duvall's running. You look at it and it's like, oh wow, on 4-3 sets, he gets that pressure and he cuts that edge off and he gets a lot of run stuffing tackles, and on 3-4 looks, he's getting that pressure that's making the quarterback sweat a little bit, especially on nickel sets when you're watching that Duval defense. They look really good, and I think Chat just said it the best. Jags are due too much talent to lose the way that they have. And that's 100% true. The Jags roster is too talented to be losing like this. They got Lawrence, ETN. They got a good line. Wide receiver core. They got Calvin Ridley. We're talking about a lot of stud players stacked up with each other that just are not making it work. And at some point in the season, it's going to have to click. But I just hope it's not too late.
Yeah. Luckily, they play in one of the weaker divisions in the NFL, so they have a little more
Wiggle room.
Yeah, but they're already a quarter of the way. Well, after this weekend, they'll be a quarter of the way through the season, technically. So can't let it skid to that 50% mark. Otherwise, like the Lions did last year, 1-6, even though they played the second best football in the entire league the second half of the season, they still missed the playoffs. So they can't let it. They need to write it now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So stardom situms. Obviously, Ritter is a start if you need to. I would say he's a top 16 QB in fantasy this week.
Ooh.
I could agree with that.
Wow. Okay. It's top 16 in fantasy this week.
Yep. I could see him going for about 250 yards, maybe 2 TDs, and if he doesn't throw a pick, that's definitely a realistic stat line that reflects about 30 points.
Say the stat line one more time.
250, 2 TDs, 0 interceptions.
Okay.
Maybe
Is that 2 total touchdowns, or is that just passing touchdowns?
Just passing.
Okay, because he hasn't done that yet, so I just wanted to make sure we're clear. He hasn't done the 250 this year, and he hasn't even done the 2 passing touchdowns.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure you're high on him.
Realistic.
So here's the reason that I think that's the case scenario. I think that this is going to be a little bit of a grindier game that is going to be a little bit more close. Atlanta's not going to have the luxury of continuing to close out games and run the ball down people's throats. I think this game's going to be a little bit closer, and because of that, they're going to need to rely on Ritter a little bit more than they would like to. But I think Ritter is going to step up to the performance. I do think he's talented enough to do it, and I think he has the weapons to utilize to get 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the stat line's busted if he has a pick. But assuming he doesn't throw one, he could be a top 16 QB. So if you're in a tough situation where your QB is down and he's on the free agency wire, it might be worth looking into picking him up, or if you can get him on a cheap trade.
A little spot start.
I just wanted to make sure that we knew this was in London, and London is like the Jaguars' second home. Like,
I understand. Yep.
okay, just that's a tall task for London. Like if it was at Atlanta,
I personally
maybe.
don't think the Jaguars are as good as the Lions either on either side of the ball. They might have the same amount of starred names, but I don't think they're coached as well.
No, they're not.
And
We'll see. So.
That's why I think Atlanta has it. I still think Jacksonville will ultimately win, but this game's going to be closer, and I can see some players putting up numbers on Atlanta.
Listen, not a lot of people thought the Texans were going to slap that ass last week, but they did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
also, before
I got plenty of confidence in the Falcons to actually pull out a win.
My little thing I'm going to read off here, it doesn't specifically have to do with the matchup. Atlanta has nothing to do with it. But it's a player A, player B.
One's going to be Ritter or Trevor Lawrence, and he's about to say Jared Goff's better than Trevor Lawrence. Some stupid shit.
No.
Let's get ready.
This is for their entire careers so far.
Mm.
And they're the same draft. All right, player B. I'm going to go B first. He has 8,490 career passing yards, 40 career passing touchdowns, 27 career interceptions, 63% completion percentage, 83.5 QB rating, and a 13-24 record. Player A, 7,546 passing yards, so about 900 less than player B. But he has player B in every other category. 41 passing touchdowns, so he leads them by one. 26 interceptions, so one less. 66.3% completion percentage, so 3.3% higher. 88.8 QB rating, so 5.3 higher, and 17-17 record. 500. So he has 4 more wins, 7 less losses.
Okay.
Who are we wanting to take? You're obviously baiting us into taking player A. But I'm going to go player B.
Okay, so player B. You guys have any guesses who they are?
Nope.
Well, it sounds close to Trevor Lawrence stats. He has about 8K passing. And
yeah, player B is Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
Player A is Mac Jones.
Interesting.
My boy.
What have I been saying this whole offseason?
Now, are we going to discount the fact that one had Belichick and one had Urban Meyer?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I've been saying this whole season.
No, because coach doesn't matter for catching. Anyway, Shane, continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to
matter
interrupt you.
for scheming.
The thing I've been saying this whole season, and I said it on the Austin and I episode that we did on Wednesday, the Patriots are the real deal. If you don't think so, you're tripping. Their record doesn't reflect it yet, and that's the magic word. Yet. They're going to be a playoff team. I think that they're either going to be on the outside looking in or they're going to be a wild card team. I don't think they win the division just because of the talent in the division with the Dolphins and the Bills, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots beat out the Bills for a playoff spot later on in the season. That's just the type of team that I think that the Patriots are. And the thing is, Mac Jones is good and that defense is elite.
Share it.
No,
are you going to deny that the defense is not elite?
Their defense is always good.
Their defense is top 5.
Yes.
The Patriots would probably get the 6th or 7th seed. So, yeah, kind of like what Shane said. They're going to finish probably 3rd in that division, depending on how the 2 matchups with the Bills go. But they're probably going to get the 6th or 7th seed in that division. The problem is they don't have really legit wide receivers, right? They got Juju. With, yeah, he was legit once upon a time, but
his knees aren't no more.
But the Patriots also have never really had a legit wide receiver unless you go back to the early to mid 2000s.
They had Julian Edelman forever.
Yeah, early to mid 2000s, right?
He retired in like 2017.
I'm sticking with early to mid 2000s.
Okay.
No, but they don't have like what I mean by that, Shane, really is like they don't have that consistent wide receiver one that everyone looks at. They always look at the Patriots offense as being, it's a little bit of everything, right? Because that's typically what it is, right? They run, they pass, but they pass to everyone. And that's kind of what Mac Jones has been doing. And he's been doing it semi-efficiently. Could he play better? Yes, of course. But that defense has kept him in a lot of games. And that defense, I don't think is talked about enough. And that is, if they had a little bit better offense, they probably would be 3-0 potentially right now. Because they kept it close, and they've done very well against 2 high-powered offenses with the Eagles and the Dolphins. Right. So
Did the fact that I said Mac Jones as player A surprise some of you guys? Ben's look on his face
Yes,
is
it
you were-
surprised me.
I was surprised.
surprised it was that close kind of thing.
The thing is, though, like, this is undeniable. Trevor Lawrence's talent is significantly better than Mac Jones. Like,
Yes.
Agreed.
just
Yes.
Obviously. You know, if Trevor Lawrence was playing on a team like the 49ers or the Chiefs or the Steelers or the Ravens, you know, like a team that has a foundational base that is able to support that type of talent, oh my goodness gracious, I don't know what would happen. Like, imagine Trevor Lawrence starting for the Packers right now instead of Jordan Love.
So do you think? Are you saying
Yeah.
like MVP caliber, MVP race?
Yes, 110%. He's already in MVP talks because of how talented he is and the stats he puts up. But, like, imagine if he's on a team that, like, supported that talent, gave him that system to go ahead and spread his roots and be an elite quarterback. You know, the Jaguars, like, they always seem to find really good talent, and that talent ends up being chippy and, like, really mean and nasty. And I love that for him. But it seems like a lot of times they never maximize that opportunity with that talent.
Yeah. Currently, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Trevor Lawrence is 7th in odds currently to win MVP. Tua's number 1. Not surprising though, especially after.
He's-
that
And you were
70-point bomb.
hating on Tua. Just want to throw that out there.
I hate
Let's
Baker
say-
I was
more.
high
So
on
it's
Tua.
I
fine.
would say Trevor's currently 11th.
I hate Baker
He's tied
more.
for 11th in passing yards with Geno Smith at 736. 64.6% completion percentage, 245 a game in yards, and 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's not playing horribly, but
Is Jordan Love or Jared Goff above him?
Goff is because he's played. He's
Okay.
one of the
Oh my
two
God.
QBs who have played
We
4
could
games.
say
Well-
he moves up one spot or so.
I would say, well, currently,
Like, nothing
this is.
against Goff, just he
Well,
has
this
an
is-
extra game.
I would say current. Yeah, I would say that's why. But currently, because of the extra game, Goff is second in the NFL in passing yards behind Kirk Cousins. But
Yeah.
And Jordan Love is second in fantasy points above Goff. Just saying. Anyways, continue.
well, I was gonna say there's like 6 QBs that would have to pass for 150 yards or less to pass Goff this week, but so because of the extra game.
Right.
But Trevor's not playing bad. The rest of the team hasn't been all on the
Gel.
same page. Yes, once they gel, that'll be fine.
I think
100%.
this is their get right gel game. I think for Atlanta going to
Atlanta's tough, man.
Atlanta's
I-
good.
I-
They're good.
I
They're
would-
2-1, but going to London and
defense.
playing them, I think
But their
it's just going to be too
defense is
much.
so good. The
It's
thing
nice.
is,
They have a good
Atlanta's-
secondary.
Atlanta's running a true Smash Mouth team, and I like that. You know, I like Smash Mouth football. So it's exciting for me to see this Atlanta team being so productive because it's like their defense is really, really good. Like, you look at their defense, their pass rush is efficient, their secondary holds down the ball really well, and like they're able to run the ball down teams' throats because their blocking scheme is so efficient because they're running so many like double blocks, and they don't run zone running a lot. So like it's hard to deal with a power rush concept when you have, I don't know, Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier rushing at you with a power run scheme. It's a beautiful thing, and you love to see it. Just schematically, like the Falcons are potentially like going to win the NFC South, and I'm comfortable saying that at this point.
Okay.
Very
I
real
do have
possible.
to apologize real quick to Kyle Pitts owners. I said 2 for 27, like always. I was wrong. He had 5 catches for 41. He was
I
the
d- I did
14th tight end. Oh, God.
I did
Sue
say he
me.
would
I'm
be
glad I
okay this
sat
week.
him.
That week.
Trash tight end, still trash tight end. Always will be a trash tight end. On to the next week, which I think it's going to be a pretty fun
No.
game. It's a division game, and one that you guys are apparently thinking New England's going to beat the Bills for a playoff spot. Well, it's the Bills versus Miami this week, and I think that's going to be incredible. So here's what the line looks like right now. Buffalo minus 2.5, over under 53.5. So they think it's a high scoring game. I think it's a high scoring game too. I think this is where offenses are going to be either crowned or a defense is going to have to show they can stop a high powered fast team. I think I give it to Miami. I think that team is too fast. I think they're gelling at the right time right now. You've unlocked Hill already twice for 157 and 215. You had Mostert out there
Fucking electric.
getting 4 touchdowns. A-Chain getting another 4, 2 on the ground, 2 through the air, showing he's an efficient runner. Obviously, Waddle's always a threat to break it for, 80 yards. But don't discount, James Cook. He's been efficient and good this year.
So Buffalo's starting to figure some things out. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. As much as I love Buffalo,
I'm going to give it to Miami.
I'm going to give it a high score, too. That you guys this might shock you. I'm going to say 45-41 Miami.
Wow, one of the higher scoring games since, what was it, Goff versus Mahomes?
That'd probably be like a top 15 scoring game in NFL history, top 20.
Yeah. So,
I'm saying Miami wins by 14.
I think Miami wins by like 14-21.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a close contest. Okay, so here's the thing. There was a game last season, Miami versus the Ravens, and the Dolphins ran the same blitz against the Ravens 35 times in that game.
Mm-hmm.
If Miami wants to bring pressure, they can. And I'm still on that same boat that I was on at the beginning of the season with Josh Allen. I don't think he's going to be a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback this season. And I think that Miami's defense is good enough to fuck him up. I don't think there's ifs, ands, buts about it. And I think Miami's offense is going to be too good for that Bills, defense. Like, the Bills' defense isn't as elite as it once was a year ago, 2 years ago. They lost Edmonds in the middle. That's a huge loss, especially when you had to play against a guy like, I don't know, Tyreek Hill, who is just, running through the middle all the fucking time. When you got to play against a guy like Gesicki, who runs a steam route that covers the midfield. When you're playing against a guy like Mostert, who's able to, exploit the middle linebacker position already. Let alone if you don't have your elite cover middle linebacker there anymore. We're talking about a lot of red flags that are coming up for that Bills defense against the Dolphins. And here's the thing for me. Who can stop the Dolphins? That's my question.
Dare I say, prematurely, but
yes, you can.
And
say
in a different way, greatest show on turf 2.0. Albeit great, Rams won a Super Bowl with that team. So we got to see that happen, but they're getting it done. Their offense is scary, and it's going to 100% hinder.
But here's the scarier thing: their defense is just as good, man.
And
their defense isn't getting nearly as much.
Wait till they get Ramsey back too.
That team, Mike McDaniels, has built a fucking amazing roster over there in Miami. And
Denver Waterboy destroys former team by 50.
Yeah. That's 5-0, not 1-5, by the way.
Right.
He's just overall a fun coach to watch and listen to, especially during his press conferences or anything like that. Man, that dude he's fun, and I get why the players just follow him, right? Because he's that type of leader. He's that type of leader you'd need on a football team as your head coach.
Yeah.
He want to hear fun stat. Josh Allen is tied for third in the league right now with 4 interceptions, while simultaneously being the third most accurate QB in the league. 52.7% completion percentage.
All right, that's kind of funny.
That is funny.
That's pretty funny.
The 2 QB above him in completion percentage, Lamar Jackson 73.3, and then Justin Herbert 74.4.
Yeah, and then Jordan Love at 58%.
Jordan Love is the third at 32nd ranked at 56.1. 33rd is Joe Burrow at 55.4.
Yeah.
The only qualified quarterback. The only qualified quarterback with a worse pass completion percentage than Joe Burrow right now is Zach Wilson.
Jesus.
Who day?
So I want to get into a game that is the fully defeated teams. Vikings and Carolina, both 0-3. One of them's going to get to win. They think it's Minnesota minus 4.5. Right.
Allegedly.
It could end in a tie. Could be a tie.
Unless you're Shane, and then you think the Bears-Broncos game is going to be end in a tie.
Hey.
Yeah. Like we discussed on Wednesday, and I laughed.
Can we circle back real quick?
Yes.
Sleepers from Buffalo, Miami.
Yeah. Sleepers. The sleepers are that
Dalton
you
Kincaid.
better not sleep because it's going to go nuts.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of scoring.
Obviously, Tyreek Hill, Diggs, Allen, Tagovailoa,
Yeah, all the
Moser,
big stars.
Cook are all starts. You know,
Mhm.
obviously they just are. You know, Cook. You know, he doesn't have the touchdown production yet, but like that's bound to happen when you're at almost 300 yards over 3 games. He's almost averaging 100 yards on the ground per game. You know, he's going to get a touchdown or two. You know, it's just a matter of time. If you're scared to start him, I understand, but just know he might be on your bench and he might be worth 25 points in one of these upcoming weeks. That's just the type of player he is. He's getting the efficiency.
I think the only sleepers you could really have on either side of the tight ends, Dalton Kincaid and Durham Smith, just because.
Well, Croft is coming back this week, so just keep that in mind for Miami.
He might be on a snap count. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear what kind of injury he had. I forgot what kind of injury he had.
So Dalton Kincaid.
Oh, his back.
Croft.
He won't.
His back was a little tweaked. He sat out the first couple after it.
He won't be on a snap count. He's going to play.
He was good for red zone targets. So just that would be my only sleeper is Dalton Kincaid on the other side. If he can get, just a touchdown, you'll be happy with it. I don't think he's going to go over 100 yards or nothing. But I think in that game, high scoring, you're just going to basically start everyone or flex as you can. But the Minnesota versus Carolina, it's a little more tricky. Like when you grabbed Alex Madison, you've got to play him at the price tag. Justin Jefferson, obviously, you're starting him. Kirk Cousins, he's always flexible. Miles Sanders is hurt, so you have to keep an eye on that if, he's truly going to play.
That's why I got Chuba Hubbard.
Yep. So keep an eye on that one. Jordan Addison, would anyone start him in this game? I mean, slowly getting more involved, 56% of snaps, 69, and then 71. 6 targets, 5 targets, 8.
I think it's one of those situations. If you're not looking at a great flex start, why not take that risk? I think Addison has the boom or bust potential at this point. And that's only because of age and him getting into the system. By the end of the season, he's going to be a lock at start at like wide receiver 2. But like, I wouldn't be scared to start him at flex. I'm expecting him to get 2 or 3 catches a game, maybe 30 yards a game at his basement. But his ceiling could be a touchdown and 100 yards and like 5-6 receptions. Like, so if that's the case scenario, you're talking about a 25-point receiver and at worst like a 10-point receiver. That's worth the risk, in my opinion. Like, especially with how electric Kirk Cousins has been.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, and Hawks are locks. Like you lock them in, play them every single week besides their bye week, or hell, even maybe on their bye week.
We'll kind of throw Thielen in there too.
But
Thielen's solid.
Right, I would say right now, KJ Osborne and Jordan Addison it's one of them's going off and the other one's quiet, and then they all like the first 2 weeks it was Addison. This week 3 it was KJ. So. But I think as the season progresses, it will be more firmly Jordan Addison for sure. But does anyone think Cam Akers over the course of the season eats into Alex Madison's workload significantly?
Yes.
No.
Yes. He needs to if they want to win.
Do you realize how much they gave up for him? Nothing. They swapped 6th-round picks in the future. Not 1 year out, 2 years out, or 3 years out, or some like that. They gave up nothing for a player.
The Madison experiment is not working. It is not working.
He cannot just have his best game.
Okay, so here's the thing. You have the best quarterback in the NFL right now, statistically. And you're 0-3. You need to run the ball better. The reason that you have statistically the best quarterback in the NFL is because you're not keeping top on your side. And if that's the case scenario, then yes, you need to go ahead and start running by committee. Otherwise, you're going to keep on fucking losing games. And quicker than you know it, if the Vikings lose 2 more games in the next 4 weeks, they are out of the playoffs realistically.
I think they just trade for Jonathan Taylor. Come give my Colts a first-round pick for him, and then boom, they're set.
They're not going to.
They won't, but that's what they need to do. They need to go get themselves a dynamic running back because Madison and Akers aren't it.
Bryce Young is in, by the way.
Cam Akers, as the weeks go on, over this week and next week, will start to get more of a workload and will start to phase out Madison back to his typical role.
Yep.
Kind of agree.
Cam Akers has the potential. Cam Akers has the talent. and the potential to go ahead and take over an RB1 role, especially in an RB1 role where Madison is his backup running back. When we're talking about RB1, it's just over 50% of snaps.
He's never handled a full workload either, right? He's never had over 200 touches.
That plays to his benefit.
Madison just had his best statistical week this week, and he finished with a 3.5 yards per carry average. And his touchdown was offsetted by losing a fumble.
No, he had a 4.65 average, 20 carries, 93 yards, was 4.6, 5 catches for another 32. But what I'm saying is Cam Akers, NFL coaches know if a body's going to hold up or not. They know Cam Akers won't. Hence why they, the Rams, Sean McVay loves a bell cow. Todd Gurley, great example. He literally ran him until he couldn't run.
Yeah,
he knew he couldn't do that with Akers.
And for the Vikings, Cam Akers is a low risk, high reward situation.
That's what they're hoping for. So I think it's going to be, running back A versus B. It's not going to be taking over.
He's going to take over. Madison is not it.
Madison was doing just fine with Cook. And let me tell you, again, here's the thing.
Yeah, just
they know
fine
Akers.
in his RB2 role as the 2.
Akers never lived up to an RB1 either.
But Akers is better than Madison.
But when your back's against the wall...
Here, let's go best statistical season.
Kirk Cousins isn't statistically leading the NFL in passing yards and looking this great statistically and being the best fantasy quarterback in the NFL because the Vikings are playing well. Let's get that straight. The Vikings are playing bad. They're 0-3. And a big reason why Kirk Cousins needs to have all those passing yards is because their running attack isn't there. It's just not as effective as it needs to be. And that's just a fact. It doesn't matter if we go ahead and talk about statistics and everything. The issue is the top is not in the Vikings' favor. And Carolina, I would not be surprised to pull out this game because Carolina plays top very well. They're a very well-coached team with when they go ahead and get possession of the ball, they hold on to it and they grind the ball out. And that's how you beat the Vikings.
It's very evident they're missing Dalvin Cook right now.
Yeah.
Big time.
Very evident.
Well, either way, I'm going to take Carolina. Or I'm going to take Vikings minus 4.5.
I'll take Vikings as well.
That's
I think
fine,
Vikings
but
get this
Madison
one.
is still going to get slowly phased out.
I agree.
We'll
with
see.
both of you. If
as the
this
season goes.
means anything,
it's going to happen.
if this season means anything to the Vikings, they're not unless they're just tanking. If the season means anything to them, they're gonna.
What are they tanking for?
They're gonna try something new.
They tanking for Kool-Aid?
Right.
Yes.
Well, they finally gave Madison a full workload,
Williams.
and he finally came out and did well. So I'm saying maybe they give him a couple more weeks longer than you guys realize, but that's my opinion.
Cam Akers is going to get carries. Cam Akers is going to get carries. So Madison's days of a full workload are pretty much over.
Here's the thing. The Vikings, professional staff, their seats are on fire right now. This is a playoff team. There is no reason that these Minnesota Vikings are 0-3 at this point. The Vikings should be at worst 2-1. At worst.
Yeah. Lost 3 close games.
Yeah, you cannot, I repeat, cannot be losing the time of possession like they have been. Lead the season off 0-3 and still expect to get into the playoffs. Very few teams in history have even had a playoff berth off 0-3. And for reference, those teams end up getting into a late wildcard spot. And there's only been one team to ever win the Super Bowl off that 6th seed.
Giants.
Steelers.
Hey.
Steelers? Oh, I thought the
Giants.
Giants did in 2000.
Giants did it in 5.
Giants did it twice.
I thought they did it on the 5th seed.
No, they did it 6th seed, I believe.
Okay.
Let me double check while you talk.
Well,
if it's 1 or 3 total teams, few teams have ever done it.
Right.
And
The only reason the Vikings have a chance is because the NFC North is that weak outside of the Lions. So they have a realistic shot at taking second place still. But especially since the Bears on paper should be a free win, they should have 2 free wins there.
yeah. I think they split. I don't think the Bears are going to not win a game this season. The thing is with the Bears is 3 out of 3 out of 5 of their offensive linemen are down. Like,
All right.
Tevin Jenkins, which you guys know how high I am on Tevin Jenkins. Travis, here's a little side panel. Travis and Ben were at my house, and we were watching the draft when Tevin Jenkins was in that draft, and they were like, "Why are you so high on this guy?" I'm like, "Trust me, he's a fucking road warrior. You watch his film, he's a fucking stud." I was so high on him. I hope the Steelers took him, and then the Steelers didn't, and I was kind of bummed about it. And then he goes to the Bears, and I'm like, the Bears got to steal in the fucking second round, and he has been. He has been exactly what I thought he was going to be. He doesn't have the highest PFF grade, but he's a mean motherfucker that will go ahead and grind you down the field. And that's how that Bears offensive line is built. But they're running on essentially a second-string offensive line currently, and that just doesn't work. And while we're talking about the Bears, let's go ahead and transition to that game in just a second. Let's go ahead and get a final lock-in. Any sleepers, anything for the Vikings-Panthers game?
Before we do that, I want to talk about the 0-3 thing. So I looked it up, and there's – all right, so 6 teams have made the playoffs starting 0-3. The 1981 New York Jets, 1982 – all time. 1982 Tampa Bay Bucks, 1992 San Diego Chargers, 1995 Detroit Lions, 1998 Buffalo Bills, and 2018 Houston Texans. All of them lost in the wild card round. I just wanted to finish that since I said I was going to look it up, so I just wanted to finish that off real quick.
Really good information. Thank you.
Yeah.
So basically, if they make it to the playoffs, they're fucked. Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah.
Bet against them. Put your money on it right now. Bet against them.
And only one team has made the playoffs starting 0-4, and that was the 1992 Chargers.
Okay.
So that's they won 11. They won 11 of the last 12.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right. Well, go ahead, Austin. Spit your knowledgeable facts on us.
It's not my facts. It's the Chargers. I mean, it's the Google's facts. So,
well, speaking of facts, we have another 0-3 game. Broncos versus Bears. Broncos are favorites -3.5.
The game of the week, baby. Game of the week.
The Broncos are at the Bears.
Yes, sir. The toilet bowl.
Now, I did tell everyone, keep an eye out for Rashawn Johnson. He's going to slowly eat into Khalil Herbert's workload. 39% of the snaps, 42% of the snaps, 45% of the snaps, and he's still effective. He's still efficient. So just keep an eye out for it. Don't start him yet. He's still a bench worthy. But in this game, is there anything exciting about this game, honestly?
The way Denver's defense looked last week, if you're a Justin's Field owners, you're really thinking maybe this is the week, but
to start it, right?
Right. But I don't know. This game's the last 2 weeks ago when it was Arizona and the Giants, and it was the toilet bowl, and I said it was going to get ugly, and it was going to be 30-40 for no reason. It was. This week it's actually going to be ugly, and it's going to be 20-17 at best.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. This is a bad game to watch.
This is a game you think is going to finish in a tie.
I think both these teams are so bad that neither of them will pull it out.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I said. Yes, 13-13. Broncos Bears tie. They both stay winless, baby.
I want to do it. I'm joining that. Let's do it. 13-13.
13-13 tie. Bears, Broncos, they stay winless, baby. Quarter way through the season, they don't gotta win, but they gotta fucking have a one.
The universe is man, the universe is one of these teams gotta win, but nope, they're gonna break the universe. We're gonna tie.
I'm pretty sure on Wednesday I said 17-13 was gonna be the score. I'm sticking to that.
Yeah.
I'm sticking to that.
Who's gonna win though, Austin? Who has 17?
Oh, the Bears.
Oh, I think I'll flip yours. I'll go 17-13 Broncos.
Yeah.
So I agree. Low scoring, very ugly. I don't really want to start anyone in this game. Maybe flex the QBs.
I'd flex Jerry Jeudy. Maybe Jerry Jeudy.
I think Russell Wilson will pass for 300 yards and a touchdown, maybe 2.
Yeah.
I think Javonte Williams may get a touchdown finally, the running back for them. So maybe flex him. But other than that, for the Broncos. Other than that, very ugly game.
I think maybe if you need to flex some players, you might be able to with Denver a little bit this week. The reason being, like, Denver's defense looks horrible, but it's not as bad as the Bears. I don't think of, like, Miami. They just played the most explosive offense in the league. That can happen, apparently. Like, but I still think Denver's defense is better than the Bears. And
I don't. I think the Bears' defense is better than Broncos. Like, here's the thing. Broncos have a lot of big names, but it never seems like they utilize them correctly. And that's my biggest thing with Broncos' defense is, like, 2 or 3 years ago, we're like, oh, yeah, they finally got all the pieces, and now we're just sitting here and they're 0-3, and we're like, they're a horrible fucking team still.
Mhm.
Russell Wilson, should I remind you? Let's ride, baby. Let's ride.
Sit down. Sit down.
Like, Broncos country, let's ride. Shut the fuck up. The Bears take care of business if it isn't a tie. I don't want either of these teams to win. Neither of them deserve it. They both have been ran schematically, like, horribly. Schematically, horribly.
I was about to correct you schematically.
Yeah, like, I don't know, I'm stupid. I'm a dumb fucker. I admit it. Well, like, schematically, like, these teams have both been ran horribly. Sean Payton is proving his worth and salt as a coach, and it's not a lot of it. And, the thing is with the Bears is, like, they're injured. They're looking rough. And I think, the Bears, the thing is, I said this in the Wednesday episode. The Broncos are demoralized. That's why I pulled up that video of that offensive lineman that Ben said no one cares about offensive linemen about. They were like, he said, I've been here for 7 years and I'm tired of losing. And he's on the verge of a mental breakdown. With the Bears, it's like, we know we're going to lose, but we want to win some games in between. And that's where the Bears organization is. So if I had to pick a team to win, I would say the Bears, but I would love to see this game end in a tie, baby.
No. I'm not ready if it actually does the endless amounts of shit. I'll be like, I told you so. I told you so. I'm not fucking ready. I'm not fucking ready for it.
I'll say it once, maybe twice. I'll be like, I called it. I called it.
And again, I'm not ready for it. So
Russell Wilson is realistically the only start in this game. You can start DJ Moore. You can look at starting Mims and, like, your fucking flex spot, maybe Williams, but, like, otherwise I wouldn't start anybody else from this game. We're talking about flex starters. Russell Wilson, obviously, he had to spend a good amount of capital to go ahead and get him. He does have almost 800 yards on the season, 6 CDs, 2 interceptions, averaging 2 touchdowns per game, and only 0.75% or 0.66% interceptions per game. That's a good ratio. That's good enough to go ahead and start in a lot of leagues. We're talking about a 20, 30-point quarterback at least. That's good enough. So if you spent the capital to go ahead and get Wilson, you're probably going to have to go ahead and start him. And that's the situation with Wilson. Does anybody else have any intervention on that?
You're kind of obligated to start him at that point. But I'd probably think about starting Cortland Sutton, or not starting him, at least flexing him too as well in this game. He's someone I would probably chuck in there, even though he got a lot of garbage time with Miami, or garbage time receptions. I would still consider it, depending on matchups at least.
Yes.
Would you start anybody else from this game? Or do you think my sentiment was well spoken?
Start Russell, flex Williams, maybe Judy or Sutton, whoever you think is going to get the touchdown.
Not Mims?
Not Mims. He doesn't. He's an efficient receiver. He just isn't on the field enough. 27% of the snaps, 24.
That's fair.
It's just the efficiency. I mean, if you're really looking for a boom game, he's the guy that can go 2 catches and 100 yards with a touchdown. We've seen that. So if you really need a boom, a hope, and a prayer, I guess maybe him over them. But I don't really like anyone for this game, maybe besides flexing the 2 QBs. And
I don't like DJ Moore either because he's going to have Surtain over him all week.
Exactly. So that's why I didn't say him. I'm not huge on any of the tight ends or anything. For me, it's a game where I'm really trying to, find someone else to start.
In the scheme, Surtain isn't really a follow corner. He's usually a next corner. Yeah. He's usually a next corner. So because of that, I could see you starting Moore in a flex spot. I think he could be efficient in that. position, but I don't think that he would be elite. DJ Moore, if you have him and you're worried about your flex position, I would start him.
Same.
Anyways, on to the next week. Ben, why don't you go ahead and roll it out?
Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns, -1.5 for Cleveland, over under 39. I love this.
Updated. Ben, updated. It's -2.
It's
Cleveland.
-2 now. Okay.
It's -2 now.
Well, hey, we'll take that. Because first off, I think Cleveland's going to win. I like only 3 players on Baltimore side. Lamar Jackson, obviously. Gus Edwards, Zay Flowers, and Mark Andrews. And maybe not even Gus Edwards, but my 3 would probably be Lamar, Flowers, and Andrews. Because remember, OBJ's out at the moment. Rashad Bateman's out. So they're going to get Flowers involved.
I think this is going to be ugly. Even without Nick Chubb, I think
is
the Browns
removed from injury.
The Browns are going to win by 20.
Thank you for that.
I think the Browns defense is legit. Baltimore's going to be forced to pass, and they're trying to pass more than they have in recent years, but this is absurd, this stat so far. Through 3 games, Cleveland is giving up an average of 111.7 passing yards per game. That's it. And they faced Joe Burrow.
I still take the Ravens.
I want the Browns to win.
I don't think Cleveland can maintain that level. That's ridiculous. But they're also only giving up 52 yards per game on the ground.
I mean, yeah, but
right now they're at top 10 all-time defense standards right now.
I like the Ravens' chances to win, and I like him even more if Deshaun Watson doesn't even play. Which he might not. He's questionable at the moment with the shoulder
I like
injury,
Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the rookie. He was really efficient during the preseason and electric. If Watson goes down and he hasn't played to his best, and if Robinson goes out there and plays good, real good.
Yeah.
We're talking about a bad fucking Browns organization, though. They won't make a good decision like that. They'd rather keep the sexual assaulter at quarterback and pay him the handful of cash. I hate Deshaun Watson.
Hate
here's the thing,
all you want.
Especially as a Steelers fan, Ben Roethlisberger had 2 allegations against him that were both proven false. And then Deshaun Watson has 30+ allegations against him. And that's the biggest thing with Ben Roethlisberger. That's why he never got the respect in the league that he deserved, because everybody would call him these terminologies that I'm not going to say, but you guys know. But with Watson, it's just everybody's oh, it's just off the bat because he was just getting his taint rubbed. He sexually assaulted 30+ women, and it just disgusts me every fucking time we have to talk about him. And I'm going to preach on this. If we are on this podcast for the next 5 years, every time we gotta talk about Deshaun Watson, I'm gonna be taint rubber, I don't give a fuck. Because that guy is a piece of fucking shit. Yep. And I hope he never starts in the NFL again. Every time we talk about him. Now, fantasy wise, would I start Watson? No. Would I start Jackson? Yes. Would I start fucking Ford? Yes. Ford is a good start this week. Cooper, yes. I think he's gonna get a lot of yards this week. Flowers, I don't like his odds, honestly, this week. I think the Browns secondary is going to go ahead and make it tough for Lamar Jackson to throw the ball.
And Bateman are both
He's going to be double. That's the reason. I was about to get into that. They're going to be able to throw double coverage on him.
And have Denzel Ward shadow in pretty much all game. Maybe.
Sweet. Lots of jet sweeps, lots of little screens, lots of little slants. He'll find a way.
They're not going to be.
Screens against Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith and jet sweeps. Right. Good luck.
Trust me, I'm a Steelers fan. Remember, jet sweeps are our number one thing, and I've seen a lot of those get blown up against the Browns last week, or 2 weeks ago. But the thing is, Browns defense is really good. I would like to see the Browns win this game. Honestly, I take the over on it. It's 39 points. I think both teams score plus 20, so I take the over on it. I don't start a lot of players from this game. I think it's going to be kind of an uglier matchup. I think it's going to be 24-21 type of score. And I think Browns take care of business and go ahead and finish it off at home.
So real quick, kind of circle back to Deshaun Watson just because you brought it up, Shane. I know you don't like talking about whatever. I just wanted to talk about his contract real quick. So 2022, 2023, he was getting base salary of $1 million, but he had a bonus of $9 million in 2022, the year he got suspended. So the NFL can't touch that money. They can only touch the salary. And then in 2023, $17.9 million as the bonus, $1 million salary. 2024 to 2026, he's getting a $18 million bonus each year and $46 million salary. That's fucking bananas for the play we're getting right now. Just from a contract perspective, purely.
Yeah, and the longer they wait to make a decision, the less likely someone's going to take the ridiculous contract because it's backloaded and it's not pretty.
I mean, he is QB 11 in our fantasy league at the moment. So put a little respect on him.
No, there's no respect.
They are 2-1.
Fantasy, yes, sure, whatever. He's QB 11. But the fucking atrociousness of this contract is absolutely insane.
He's getting better every week. But that's the thing.
Because Chubb's down.
Every week he's getting better.
They need him to pass the ball.
Exactly. So he's going to justify this contract.
No, he's not.
No,
the only way he can justify the contract, they can justify it, is if they win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
You pay this type of money to win the Super Bowl. If he doesn't win it, it's a busted contract. If they don't make far in the playoffs, they lose wild card round, for example, because they finished second or third in the division.
It's not enough.
So if Herbert doesn't win a Super Bowl or Burrow doesn't win a Super Bowl, those contracts are bust.
Does he have 34 accusations of getting?
No. Hold on. Austin talks strictly on contract.
If they don't make it far in the playoffs, yes.
Okay.
You pay that type of money.
That's what I want to know.
So by that logic,
you pay that. Shut the fuck up, Travis. You pay that type of money to make it far in the playoffs. You don't make it just to make it to the wild card and be done.
Okay, but by that logic, every single person that is a top 12 paid QB in the league besides Patrick Mahomes isn't worth the contract.
That's what I was getting to, Travis. That's what I was getting to.
I've said this time and time again, quarterbacks did not deserve 40+ million.
I just wanted to make sure.
I've said that so many times.
Now, is there any?
I've said it so many times. You already knew the answer to that, Ben, because I've told you. I was
going to get it out on the pod.
There's only 3 QBs active in the league that have won a Super Bowl.
$30+ million. It's not really worth it.
So there's only 3 active QBs in the league right now that have actually won a Super Bowl. It's Patrick Mahomes, Matt Stafford, and Jimmy Garoppolo. That's it.
Because Rodgers is inactive at the moment. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But he's still in the NFL, so he's still a player.
So
not retired, so he counts.
Still, think about that.
All right.
How many QBs haven't won a Super Bowl?
Wrap up. Ravens, Browns. Who wins? Austin, lock in.
Ravens.
Ben says Browns. Austin says Ravens. Travis?
Browns 24-14.
Browns 24-21.
That was an easy one. Now, Shane, do you want to, start talking about your beloved Steelers versus Houston? Do you think you guys beat C.J. Stroud, or do you falter? Because right now it's Steelers. They're the favorites. I think -2.5 as of earlier. Could have updated over under 42.5. So, Kenny Pickett get it done, or?
I think this is a situation where it's a prove-it game for the Steelers. This is a game where it defines the rest of their season. You're playing against the first defense that isn't elite. First of all, like the front seven isn't elite. They got a good defense. This is a game where I'm low-key worried. I'm like, Houston's a good team. Remember, I was high on Houston in the offseason. I was like, Houston's a good team. And C.J. Stroud's playing very well. Damian Pierce is playing really well. And with how the Texans are playing, it's a realistic conversation to say there's a playoff push. Now, with that being said, I do think that the Steelers' defense is going to be the toughest defense that C.J. Stroud has played against. It's going to be the hardest defense that he has to deal with. And 100%. I think this is going to be his welcome to the NFL game. And only because of that, I think the Steelers are going to pull this off, and I think it's going to be a pretty big one. I think that they're going to end up winning by about 10 to 14 points, and take care of business, go ahead and knock out the Texans. I think that's a realistic expectation about it. Would I start Kenny Pickett? No. Would I start Najee Harris? Yes. I think Najee Harris is going to have a hell of a game. Only because, here's my reasoning. Najee Harris is going to have a good game. I think Kenny Pickett will have an average game. That's why I want to start him. I think he's going to finish around QB 15, 16, that area, mid-teens, 14 to 17, I would say, is the range that we're looking at for Kenny Pickett, where he's finishing fantasy-wise. I think Najee's going to finish in the top 7 because I think the Steelers are going to be in lead early, and they're going to be playing for time of possession. And this defense, the Texans' defense, isn't as good as the defenses that the Steelers have faced throughout the season. So because of that, I think Najee Harris will go ahead and get probably 100-plus yards on the ground, probably like 50 yards through the air. Jaylen Warren will be a respectable flex. He's probably going to get about total 70 yards from scrimmage and maybe a touchdown and few catches. Few of those yards are going to be off of receptions. So because of that, I think that Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren are going to be worthy starters. George Pickens, I think, is a lock. Collins for the Texans, I personally would start him. I think he is going to go for probably about 80 to 100 yards on the Steelers defense. And if you're in a position where you're looking at a flex start, I think he's a respectable flex starter. Damian Pierce, same song and dance. The Steelers have struggled.
I like Tank Dell.
I wouldn't start, specifically because he's coming off injury. That's concerning to me. Is he registered to even start? And here's the big thing. Tank Dell's starting.
I'll look it up.
I'll look it up. Here's the big thing. Laramie Tunsil is down. Josh Jones is down. Their center, Michael Dieter, is down. So potentially 3 of their offensive linemen will not be starting, and they got to deal with this destructive Steelers defense. And I think that's the reason that the Steelers take care of business. I don't think it's an extremely high-scoring game. As I've sat and pondered on this game, I think the Steelers take care of business with like 14 points, but I think it's going to be like a 24-10 situation.
See, I kind of disagree with you. I disagree with you mainly on the point spread. I think it's more going to be like a 3 to 6 point win for the Steelers, only because of how good of a defense the Steelers have, and I think that's going to cause C.J. Stroud a lot of troubles. I think his saving grace is going to be if Nico Collins and Tank Dell can get open, but I think they also, to actually have a hope of winning this game, they're going to have to establish the run.
Yep.
Right? I think that's going to be their saving grace. I don't think they can really do it against the Steelers front 7, but specifically their front 4 guys.
Yeah.
I think that's going to cause them a lot of troubles. And you are right, because it is the best defense that C.J. Stroud has faced. And it is going to be kind of like his welcome to an NFL time moment. So I think he's going to have probably like 62 to 63% completion, but along with like 2 interceptions and like 2 touchdowns. It's kind of what I'm thinking for him.
That's where I'm at too. I think this is the toughest defensive unit that he has to face. And that's just what I want to say. I expect the Steelers to win this. But I don't think this is going to be as pretty of a win as a lot of people, especially in the Steelers community, are saying. 1 week at a time. A lot of people are talking about the Ravens matchup that's coming next week. I don't give a fuck about that. We need to beat the Texans. And historically, in the last 10 years, we've had a tough time, especially playing in Houston.
Yeah,
so
it's not going to be an easy win for the Steelers.
I think C.J. Stroud is him. I've been very high on C.J. Stroud since before the draft. I've been saying since before the NFL draft that he was the best QB in the draft. And so far, I'm right.
But I think the Texans have a very real possibility of actually winning this game. Right?
I do too.
Their offense played phenomenally last week.
Last week.
But their defense also played very excellent as well.
Well, on a per-game basis, they have 3 wide receivers that should be flex and or starting. Like Robert Woods with receptions, yardage, and his touchdown. He's in our league settings, he'd be averaging about 11 points per game fantasy wise.
Right.
Tank Dell and Nico Collins are both, with their numbers, they're averaging about 16 and a half.
So I think the Texans can play well enough to actually help them win the game. They're just going to have to keep. I think for them, their weakness is the run game more so than the passing game. So if they can hold Najee Harris to 50, 60 yards rushing, I think that's really going to help them out to actually win the game late. Because I think it's really going to come down to the last 1 or 2 possessions to win the game.
I could see that. I do think. Here's the thing for me. I hate to be like this. I hate to be a homer like this. The Steelers defense is a top 5 unit. Can we all agree on that?
I do agree.
I'd probably say almost their top 3.
Yeah, I'd call
I don't put them in
them
that
that.
conversation.
Looking at the rest of their schedule, yeah, I'd say top 5. They have the talent if they stay healthy.
Yep. And Cam Hayward's been out, but Keanu Benton, who was the rookie we took with our second round pick, I think it was at 49. They got a second round pick from the Chicago Bears that landed them at 32, which ended up being the pick of Joey Porter Jr., who also has only allowed 1 reception on 5 targets in 45 defensive snaps and has like 3 or 4 pass deflections or some shit. Like, very good play from him.
Mm-hmm. So how much?
But as for,
because he's not starting right now, so kind of going back to Joey Porter Jr., he's not really starting right now. So how long do you think until he is actually like an actual starter on that defense?
A week, maybe 2. I think it's coming.
So
I
like
think it's right around the corner.
Like week 7, 8 kind of thing.
Because the Steelers have an early bye.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think they have a bye on week 5. So what ends up happening is, that's when a lot of teams start their rookies, is after the bye week. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Broderick Jones finally step into that role and go ahead and take over for Okorafor or Dan Moore, depending on which position the Steelers think he's most fit for. With that being said, JPJ, like, he's playing too well to not have a starting job. Steelers have a bye week coming up. When you're playing against a team like the Texans where you're not threatened by the run attack, they're going to see a lot of nickel coverage. I think JPJ, if you're in a defensive league and you're in a defensive player unit league, I think JPJ, Joey Porter Jr., would be a solid start. I really wouldn't be surprised if he gets a pick or 2 this game. Because they're going to be playing nickel a lot because I think the Steelers are going to take the lead early and then force them to pass on him. And you play nickel or dime, and Joey Porter Jr. will be on the field. If you took Joey Porter Jr. and you're not comfortable with who you're starting defensively as your defensive player of the week, maybe think about starting Joey Porter because I think he gets 3-4 tackles. I think he might get an interception, maybe 2, at least a couple pass deflections, and he won't get burnt too bad. That's what I've seen from JPJ at this point. And I think that this is a week where this is the first game for the Steelers where it's like the Steelers are over. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm looking at the stats right now, and statistically, the Steelers are a bottom through three weeks so far. They're like by the yards per game average. They're a bottom 5 defense in the league.
But check this out, Travis. Check out how many sacks they have, and check out how many turnovers they have.
They have played San Francisco and Cleveland.
Yeah.
And we're both, had 3
and
plus
Vegas.
sacks. And, Vegas, they had 3, 6, and 4 sacks, respectively. They've had 6 total forced fumbles, 4 total recoveries, 4 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. Like, as a defense for 3 games so far, granted, the Steelers aren't 3-0. Their defense is good, even though their yards are still less. I agree. Their yardage
the
needs
yards
to be better.
Here's
turnovers,
the
they
thing.
can
When you're
cause
watching
them.
the Steelers defense, here's the thing with the Steelers defense. It's like they let them get to like they'll kick. A big thing with the Steelers defensive yards looking so bad is Presley Harvin being so good. Their punter. When you're pitting an offense back on like the 20, within the 20, like on almost every kick, and I think he has 5 or 6 kicks within the 10-yard line this season. When you have that, you go ahead and play some soft coverage and let them get yards. And then you go ahead and lock them down once they get past the 40-yard line. And that's what the Steelers defense has been doing. That's why yards is kind of misleading when you're looking at defensive stats, is because, if the special teams is playing really well, especially with how much the defense has been on the field this season, they're going to let up yards. That's going to happen. But you look at the terms like sacks. You look at the terms like turnovers. You look at they have 8 total turnovers and 13 sacks this season. How many tackles for a loss do they have this year? I want to say it's 12. We're talking about very high production. And, okay, you're on a 3rd and 20 situation because you got a sack, then you force an incompletion, and then you let up 15 yards. Well, it's still a 4th and 5. 4th and 5. It's a 4th and 5 situation, and you're forcing a punt anyways or a field goal attempt. That's what the Steelers defense has been doing this season. So because of that, statistically, yes, their yardage isn't the greatest, but you watch that Steelers defense and you're like, this is top 5 unit. They passed the eye test. And that's not me being a homer. Like, just statistically
No,
speaking, they
you're
have
right.
the most sacks in the NFL. The Lions are tied with them, and they've played one more game than the Steelers have at this point. Like, turnovers, they're, I think, third. We're talking about very good production, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and they're containing games and making sure that that shit gets done.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, who do you guys start and sit this week?
Oh,
I think
that's
the only
easy.
one from the Steelers I'd be even really looking at is Najee.
Oh, see.
And then from the Texans, I would go C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins.
I would flex Nico
Yeah.
and Tank Dell. I would sit CJ Stroud. I would flex maybe Pierce, depending. But honestly, I'm probably going to make Shane very happy in this one. 38-14 Steelers. Pickens over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Harris over 100. Pickens over 100. I think that defense destroys Stroud, destroys his confidence, gets to him early, quick, and often, rattles him. I think they're in his face a lot. I don't often trade for defenses, but this is one that I really would like to have if they're on, the waiver wire and pick them up. I love the Steelers in this one. They're measly. I don't get how Vegas is calling it 2.5. Mind you, the Steelers have only been 29-39 against, the spread as road favorites under Tomlin. Not great. But the Texans have been 0-9 outright at home against the spread. I am smashing the Pittsburgh Steelers side. I am smashing Tomlin. I am smashing it all the way. I will back Shane and his crazy predictions on this one. Steelers, start them, play them, run them, enjoy.
I'm here with it. I have a hard time predicting Steelers games while we're talking on the podcast. I could talk in depth about the players. I just hate homering really bad. I agree with you, Ben. I could see the Steelers taking care of business. Like, on the X's and O's side, it should be a dominant win.
Should be.
It should be.
They have more talent at every position.
They outclass.
I agree. Even though I'm super high on CJ Stroud, I kind of feel like this is the week to start all your Pittsburgh players.
So
I don't think it's as ugly as Ben thinks it's going to be. 38-14. I think it's going to be more like 34-21.
Okay.
I'll say that.
You gave them one more touchdown, one less field goal on Steelers side.
Yeah.
But I like it. So Austin's the odd man out on that one. Now to the exciting news.
Texas win. Let's fucking go.
On to the exciting news. The Colts are actually 2-1, and they are playing a fantastic LA Rams team of 1-2. Right now, there is no favorite. The over-under is 40 or 46. So for Vegas to not have a line and just have it as a pick, that's impressive to me. We get Anthony Richardson back this week, although I kind of liked Minshew. He played well. Zach Moss is, I think,
for what? Almost 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Yeah, I mean, I think he played pretty well too.
Right.
He played all right.
I mean, it was 227 yards and a touchdown. Excuse you. But 400 in the last 2 games, yes. Again, I wanted Gardner Minshew season. If anyone heard the podcast before the draft, I knew we were going to take Anthony Richardson, and I was not liking that. I wanted to grab Witherspoon. I wanted to grab, Gonzalez. I wanted to grab a corner. We didn't. We grabbed Richardson. He has been pleasantly surprised. We're 2-1. Flex him, start Moss, flex Pittman. On the other side, Stafford, Puka, Tutu, Kyron Williams have all been proven to start.
Richardson really does remind me of a younger Ben Roethlisberger. He's big in the pocket. He's hard to take down. He's able to move around in the pocket, much like Ben was. I think the agility and the athleticism that Richardson has over Ben Roethlisberger at that point of his career, Ben made up in passing accuracy, but I think later on in his career, it will be very similar. I think he'll be looked at as a very similar quarterback because of his size, because of his mobility, because of his will to stay up in the pocket. You watch AR5 and you see this, you see him breaking sacks. You see him leading this team. And that's what the Colts need. That's what Andrew Luck was for them. I know I spoke the forbidden name. I shouldn't be talking about Voldemort in this chat, but
Yeah.
you know.
How's that feel, Travis? How's that feel?
There's those flashbacks from that.
Drafted him at a Denny's and then ended up fucking retiring.
Yeah. Here's the thing, like, you know, AR5, like, I do honestly think he's the best quarterback in this class, and I've been saying that this whole season. You know, I'm really high on AR5. He's a very good rushing quarterback. He's a very good pocket-aware quarterback. You know, when you need him to drop back and throw the ball, he can. You know, like, he gets a lot of comparisons to Lamar Jackson. I don't think Lamar Jackson is the correct comparison. I think Ben Roethlisberger is a better comparison, specifically because of his size, because of his ability to break sacks in the pocket. And he's able to do that. And he stands in the pocket and he takes hits. Like it's very reminiscent, as a Steelers fan, it's very reminiscent when I'm watching the All-22 of Richardson to Ben Roethlisberger. And that's a high praise. I'm comparing him to a Hall of Fame quarterback. You know, it's not a bad thing I'm saying about him. So, with that being said, do you start AR5 against this Los Angeles Rams defense?
I'd flex him. I'd stream him if it was a 2 QB league, but say he's one of the top 12,
well.
I don't think so. I love his rushing upside, but this week alone, I don't call top 12.
What about Zach Moss then, Ben?
Oh, I love Zach Moss.
You start him?
I would start Zach Moss and Michael Pittman as the only two, because Moss is going to get the workload and the carries that even if he only gets 4 yards a carry, he's still going to be perfectly fine and maybe even get a touchdown. Pittman is the clear number one. I don't like his talent or athleticism, but when you're getting 11 targets a game, 8 catches, you've got to start that player in fantasy. So,
yes,
that's fair. 8 points baseline,
right, for PPR
on average, like that's really strong. You know, 8 points just baseline on average. That's really strong because, you know, that's before you throw on yards and a touchdown.
I have a trade out for him. Shh.
Shut the fuck up, Travis. We already had one disgusting trade. We don't need another.
He does it way too often, but that's besides the point. I have no surprise or sleepers in this game to watch. Does anyone by chance? Oh, actually, the Colts defense. I think that may be a sneaky game for them to be semi-relevant. If you're streaming defenses and they're out there, take a look at them, see if you like it.
Probably.
Yeah, you know, actually, I do have a sleeper this week. Bryson Hopkins should be available on most free agency wires. If Higbee does not start, I think Hopkins does get a significant amount of targets, and I think that he would be a valuable tight end start if you don't have a top 5 tight end. You know,
Kittle,
he's talented enough, he's good
Kelsey,
enough.
Yeah.
I'd still play Tutu and Puka. You got to at this point.
Yep.
I feel it.
Yep.
Puka.
Okay.
My dog.
This is a pretty boring game, though. Honestly.
It is a pretty boring game. Now, before Austin gets back, I want to touch on the Tampa Bay versus New Orleans because I hate the Baker hate because as much as he hates Baker, he has been very serviceable this year.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
I mean, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's a good start to the season with 636 yards. So
I'm a lot more comfortable with him as my third QB than I was Zach Wilson.
right. If in a 2 QB league and you've got, 12, 14 people, he's a good QB too, in my opinion. So that's my Baker take. This week, I think the Saints actually get the win. They are favorites.
Jameis Winston throwing?
Well, that's the thing. Jameis Winston has come out and proven in the past he can throw touchdowns.
Questionable. Derek Carr is questionable.
Hey, remember, Winston has thrown for over 30 touchdowns in a season. He has thrown for 5,000 yards. He does like to whip it deep. They've got a
30 for 30, baby. Yes, sir.
Yeah, he was the 30 for 30 club. But I think he's got the best receivers he's had with Michael Thomas and Chris Olave and Shaheed, Chris Olave. So I like this. Is Kamara back finally?
Yes.
I think
he should be back this week.
I think I'm going to lean towards the Saints.
I'm leaning Saints no matter what, even if Derek Carr doesn't start. I think it's going to be like a 7-10 lead affair. even if Derek Carr doesn't start. Because Jameis Winston is good enough to be a starting quarterback on a lot of teams. And even if Derek Carr doesn't play, I'm comfortable enough with saying that, Hill, Kamara, and Olave will go ahead and get the job done for him.
I think they can do. I think they're the favorites too. I picked the Saints to win the division before the season started. I mean, part of that was because of Derek Carr, but to win just one game, especially since Mike Evans looks great, Godwin looks serviceable, Baker's making them relevant, or vice versa, one of the two. But you got Marshawn Lattimore on the other side. That's Ben Evans. That Marshawn Lattimore is a first-team All-Pro corner 2 weeks out of the season, and it's when he plays Mike Evans.
Right. I was gonna say be wary of Mike Evans this week because of that. Because Baker has gone to Mike Evans a lot. So I was actually gonna say, a little uptick for Chris Godwin this week. I think it'll be his week. Funny enough.
Yeah, I do think the Saints win. This is gonna be a competitive game. 27-24 Saints.
I just see the Saints taking it over. Austin, what you thinking?
What game we
Bucks
talking?
Saints.
Bucks Saints. Saints all day. Fuck Baker Mayfield. Derek Carr, maybe. Chris Olave is going to have himself a game. Feeling it. 130 yards.
Want to start?
130 yards, a touchdown. Maybe.
I think Trey Palmer might go
I don't
off
know.
this game.
I don't know, man.
I don't know who's going to be covering Trey Palmer very well for the Bucks.
Trey Palmer, he's a speedy little guy.
He's a waiver player that you could go ahead and get for free if you're needing a flex start. And I think that his ceiling is very high. I think he could score 20 points this game.
Mm-hmm. I would see. I don't know.
I think I'm leaning Saints.
Maybe Shaheed too from the Saints. He might have himself a little bit of a game.
Rashad Shaheed,
yeah.
You know what? Yeah. I'm gonna flip mine. I'm gonna go against Austin. Fuck him. Bucks win, and you can roll with Godwin and Baker out there and Rashad White. Fuck it. I'm gonna flip mine and go Bucks win.
Mike Evans is obviously a lock to start, correct?
You have to.
Yeah.
He's Baker's favorite.
At this point, you have to. There's a lock in.
It's the same thing with Pittman. He's getting 10-plus targets, 6 catches every time, 60 yards minimum. So you're talking 12 points minimum, not to mention if he grabs a big-ass touchdown. So
yeah, that's hard to ignore. You can't ignore 100%. That. So, what about Chris Godwin? Auto lock or not?
I think he's flex worthy because Marshawn Lattimore is going to be covering Mike Williams. They have a lot of beef in the NFL, and the time Lattimore plays good, like Travis was saying, is against Evans. So I think that leaves Godwin open. I think he's going to be a safe floor, not super high ceiling, but
so do you start Evans this week?
Yes.
I'd still start him. He's still going to grab 6 catches for 60 yards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you still start
him. And a touchdown.
Kind of just hamper your expectations.
I think this is Godwin's big game where he has 20 points. So, this is his big game, though.
Hence why I'm going to wait until after the game and then trade Godwin. So, if you want him, come get him right after the game because I'm waiting for that blow up and then boom, sell.
All right, Ben.
Yeah, because you tried to fucking send me Gus Edwards for Damian Pierce. Fuck you.
Oh, that was in the middle of the podcast just to fuck around with you.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know you're not going to take that. Although they are only 3 points difference of each other, there's a significant 6-year difference in age. So I knew it wasn't going to get accepted. I just was bored on the pod.
So, Ben, why don't you go ahead and lead us into our next game?
Oh, the Jesus himself, according to Austin, Sam Howell takes on the 3-0 Philadelphia Eagles. Sam Howell has proven at every level he's an NFL quarterback when he plays anyone but a good defense. So if that's the case, Philadelphia -9, go ahead and start your Sam Howell. He's bound to get you -10 this week. Whoop, whoop.
He didn't get negative points last week, so it's fine.
-13? What the fuck are you talking about?
Let me look.
What the fuck are you talking about? You see that?
Me.
You see that Jersey accent just come out real quick, bro? He sounded like he was on the cast of South Park being fucking Kyle's dad, bro.
0.6. There we go.
Negative 13.4.
0.6 points.
What league are you looking in? Your favorite one?
The Sporting Lounge League, right?
No, I'm literally in the Sporting Lounge. I'm looking at Sam Howell against Buffalo,
Yeah,
minus 13.4.
Group League, the other one.
Oh, see, you're going with the more favorable one now.
Yeah, the same bullshit you do.
Yeah, it's negative. It's still negative. Suck a dick.
Yeah. In the one that's all fucked up and scoring,
Zebra
sure.
cake's fucking delicious.
But you know what? In 1 and 2 leagues, he might have finished negatives. That's all I'm saying. Depending on your scoring.
So would you have started him in the other league then?
No, because I have Matt Stafford.
No. You think Sam Howell's Jesus. You better pick him up and start him this week.
Here's my situation.
He's playing an easy defense.
Here's my situation while I'm looking at this team.
All right, start Daniel Jones.
The Commanders' defense is really good. Eagles' defense is really good as well.
Started Daniel Jones in the other league. There you go. Boom.
All right,
here's the pivot. The Commanders can win this game, but they need to stop DeAndre Swift.
Mm-hmm. I think they need to. I mean, they had the D line to match up with their offensive line. Like, there's a D line in the league that has a chance.
Chase Young, Jonathan Aller, John Payne,
Sweat.
Big defensive line right there.
Like if there's a defensive line that's up to the challenge, it's them.
It's them.
Yep.
And that if they can stop, like that's don't get me wrong. Swift's talented as a Lions fan. Like the reason we let him go is because he can't stay healthy. But like if he does stay healthy, he's been playing good, but a lot of the reason is because like I hope he gets 150 plus yards when the offensive line's giving him 15 yards of green every 2 seconds. Like, so like I don't know if you've seen some of the holes that have been opened up for him, but he hasn't had to try very hard.
Yeah.
I actually think this will be a close game. I don't think Sam Howell plays as bad as he did against Buffalo. I think he's probably sitting there watching that tape on repeat, wondering what defense did they do that fucked him up. I think this will be closer. I still give it to Philadelphia. I'm going 28-17 Eagles. On the Washington side, I'm benching Howell or QB2 flex at best. Robinson's someone I'm kind of interested just due to the workload. McLaurin.
The boom potential, yeah.
Right.
You know, he could get 2 touchdowns this week.
Exactly. He could have 10 carries, 25 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and you're sitting there going, fuck it, that's great for me, you know? You still flex Terry McLaurin. What do you guys think about Jahan Dotson? Has not had a hot start this season.
I'm out until he proves it over like at least 3 to 4 weeks.
You guys
straight.
were super high on him when I tried to trade it for him, and now all of a sudden you guys are out.
Yeah.
So now my trade looks pretty fucking fair right about now, huh?
Dang, that's crazy. Ben gets fucking
crazy.
With that logic, you know what else? What other trade looks kind of fair now? The Jared Goff or Justin Herbert one.
Actually, no, it doesn't. Still doesn't. Because it was Goff for Herbert straight up.
Man.
Because everyone meddles in my trades, but I'm not allowed to meddle for anyone else's.
You still do it.
No, people come and ask me, and I tell them sometimes yes, sometimes no, or sometimes I tell them I'm not allowed to because you guys fucking meddle and are like, you can't meddle.
You meddle more than anyone.
Really,
right
Travis, when was the last time I tried to steal one of the players you were going for?
I'm not talking about stealing. I'm talking about bitching and complaining.
Oh, that's different than meddling. Meddling is messing with someone's trades. And you two have meddled in mine this year, and I have meddled in zeros this year.
Ben, here's the difference. You're the commissioner. You're the commissioner. So what you say has a lot more weight. When you're bitching about something, it has a lot more weight than anybody else in the league. And I don't think you recognize that.
Dang, look at Ben just complaining again. Crazy. Crazy.
I'm sorry that people ask me for my advice because I'm a proven winner. But anyways, who would you sit and who would you start this week?
Proven winner would have not done a full rebuild and traded his team for pennies.
And I'm still going to come back in 2 years. That's the funny thing. I'm still going to have more winning seasons than losing seasons. And I will.
Draft good.
We'll see. Did I hit a couple of mine so far? Yeah, I have.
We'll see. We'll see.
DeAndre Swift, I'm kind of scared to start this week, if you want to be honest. Like, this is a situation where I'm like, DeAndre, this is a divisional matchup. You know, like, people sleep on divisional matchups when it's not like this big rivalry. Like, the Packers, Lions, Ravens, Steelers. You know, when it's not one of those matchups, like people sleep on it. But this is a divisional matchup. You know, this is a big game for Washington. Like, if they win this game, they actually like have a chance to win the division. Like, they're looking at this as a Super Bowl type game.
Especially since the Cowboys have already faltered. If they're the ones that give the loss to Philly. That's a 3-team race.
Yep.
They got the tiebreaker. They got to face Philly one more time. They beat them that other time. They got the tiebreaker.
I'm scared to start Goddard and Swift, like you said, Swift. I think you start Hurts just because, and then A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, if he plays, he's questionable right now.
I think Brown is a start. Hollywood
Devontae Smith is good to go, according to the most recent reports. So,
okay.
Would you fire him up?
Yep.
Yeah, and then on the other side for Washington, I'm Terry and Brian Robinson maybe. And those would be flex spots.
I'm with that.
Yeah, I can go behind that.
All right. So, Cincinnati versus Tennessee. I'm going Cincinnati the whole way. I don't even think this one's... I think it's the get-right game. I think Cincinnati... Burrow needs to come back and play like Burrow.
I hope it's a get-right game for Derrick Henry. Man.
Oh, yeah. Henry hasn't had the best season so far either. So, in this one, since the receivers are low over for Tennessee, Treylon Burks is out. I'm going to start Hopkins just because volume. I think this game he gets the volume he needs. Flex Henry, play Burrow, Mixon, Chase, Higgins. I think it's pretty standard cold cut. Tight ends, flex him if you have to.
Do you in 2 QB leagues, do you play Tannehill? He hasn't actually been horrible. He's had one really bad game, one good game, and like one mediocre game. He's had one at each level.
I mean, in our league
start
settings,
Tannehill in Superflex.
I wouldn't.
I start Tannehill in Superflex because I think he's passing for 2 to 3 touchdowns this game.
A lot of praise for him.
I'm not big on Cincy's defense.
No.
Same. Like, Cincy's defense is kind of scary. Like, it's kind of bad. It's like, if you're a Bengals fan, who day? Can I get some who days?
Who day?
Who day? Like, here's the thing with Cincy's defense. Ben just has bad takes. Check out point. It's getting heated in here, Seacock Saint said. The Bengals are Super Bowl contenders.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans, like, low-key want to be a playoff team. They're within shooting range to win the division. Like, this is a big game for the Titans. With the Bengals, like, they're a few games behind, especially if, like, the Steelers, no matter what, because Baltimore and Cleveland are playing this week, they're going to be 2 games behind.
Yep.
They just are. And, Joe Burrow could have the game of his life against his Titans defense, but, like,
Joe Burr.
I think Joe Icy Cool Burr. Oh,
Joe Burr.
You know what I'm saying?
Joe Burr.
Joe Burr.
Joe Burr.
I'm fucking shivering.
Like, I don't know. Like, I think there's a realistic chance that you go ahead and start Henry. I think you start Hopkins. I think you start Tannehill in Superflex. I think you start Burrow specifically in Superflex. Mm-hmm. I think Mixon is going to start. I think Henry could have a prove it game. I think Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd are both starts this week.
Travis.
T. Higgins could have a good week as well.
T. Higgins very well could. He might have 1 or 2 touchdowns again like he did a few weeks ago.
All righty. So any other players on this one you guys want to touch base on? Are we all in agreement? Tennessee loses?
I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee pulled it off. I'll go ahead and take the over on Tennessee by 3 points.
3 points. Spicy.
All right.
Tennessee did just beat the Chargers. I'm going Tennessee actually too.
Wow.
Until the Bengals prove it, I'm gonna go Tennessee as well.
I'll go Bengals. That's easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Bengals
right into New England.
2017.
All right, so Dallas -6.5 at home versus the Patriots.
New England takes care of business here. Let's just be straight about it.
The way
I'll
Dallas
disagree.
played last week, the way that Dallas played last week, I want to take that.
I'm gonna take the opposite. I'm gonna take Dallas. I think their defense got their asses chewed out. I think they're gonna have to come back and click some buckets, and I'm gonna say they take care of business. I might even give them a touchdown. 28-21.
I'll think Dallas has the defense to stop the running game.
That's kind of where I'm at. With Stevenson being so dominant last week,
And then Zeke, too, as well, who's still a
Mac
good
Jones has
running back.
been playing well as well. 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, Max.
Dak Prescott's kind of hit a cold streak a little bit. Dak Prescott is performing significantly worse than Mac Jones is even. Tony Pollard has 250 essential yards, 264 yards on the ground, 2 TDs. CeeDee Lamb, he's been playing very well, but here's the thing with the New England offense. I don't think they need to score a lot of points. I think their defense is going to be able to hold the Cowboys to under 17. So the question becomes, do I think the Patriots can score more than 17 points? And I think yes. I think they can score 20 plus.
I think it's going to be like a 24 to 20 point.
I hate Dallas. I'm gonna actually have to agree. Patriots as well. 24-20. That's because Patriots defense is great. Christian Gonzalez is going to be on one side of the field. They have a great secondary. They always do, and they have a good defensive line. And Dallas's offensive line hasn't been the greatest this year. They're not healthy. It's going to become New England has the defense to contain CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard and make Dak choose other players to beat them. Yeah, and that's where I don't trust Dak and the Cowboys. So,
yeah, because as we saw last week against the Dolphins, the Patriots play, right? The Dolphins have a much more potent passing and running attack than the Cowboys, I think, and the Patriots did a very good job at containing the speed on the Dolphins' offensive side of the ball. The Cowboys got really CeeDee Lamb to push them downfield, and that's just about it. The Patriots will easily cover that up, playing cover 2, maybe cover 3. And then they got a good enough front 4, front 7 to contain Tony Pollard. Right? And force Dak into some mistakes.
It's do you trust Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, Jake Ferguson? Do you trust them to make the plays needed to beat the Patriots?
I trust them more than Kendrick Bourne, Juju, Devontae Parker, Douglas, and Boutier. Because remember, if you're gonna say the same thing about Dallas, you got to say the same stuff against
rewind it.
New England.
Let's rewind it. What about Hunter Henry?
I don't trust him either. He hasn't been good since he played for the Chargers.
For Tennessee.
This season so far, he's been pretty decent.
He's been
tight ends in our in fantasy. He's been decent.
Yeah, he's been okay in our league for fantasy.
But that's the thing about the Patriots. They don't rely on just one person unless you have fucking Randy Moss, right?
Or Wes Welker, or Gronk.
Yeah, right. So there's 4 players in the last 20 years Patriots have really relied on, and they're going to spread the ball around. They're not going to make it known who they're passing to. So, I mean, you can't say they're not good statistically, but that doesn't mean they're actually bad players when you watch them on film.
I take Patriots by a full touchdown.
Currently in our league, in our dynasty league, Hunter Henry is tight end 3 currently.
Yep, in ours.
Oh.
So
now, do we know the injuries? Is Zach Moss going to play? He had limited practice and participation.
Zach Moss.
Who are you talking about?
Zach Martin. Zach Martin, the offensive lineman for the Dallas. Great offensive lineman. Yes. Tyron Smith is out, so he's still injured. But if they get Tyler Biadasz and Zach Martin back.
Tyron Smith is out. Tyron Smith is out.
Yep.
Tyler Bladzaz is questionable, and Zach Martin is questionable. So I think it all depends on if they're starting or not, if the Cowboys win. 3 of your starting offensive linemen being out, even 2, that's significant. That's
for any team. That's for any team.
Especially when you're playing against a top 5 defense. I think New England has proven that they are a top 5 defense.
Yeah.
Yes.
So even though they're 1-2, they held the Dolphins to a 1 touchdown game.
24
if
points.
Mac Jones just plays a little bit better, then that's a different situation.
Yeah, and and they were so close to beating the Eagles too. I mean, obviously didn't win. A loss is a loss, but I think they've proven time and time again that they can hang with the top of the best of the offenses on the defensive side of the ball. Offense hasn't really proven they can keep up with those high scoring teams, but their defense can slow them down enough to give the offense a chance, and that's what they've done the past 2 weeks.
Start this week.
Pollard, you start.
I think you
Lamb,
start
you
Pollard
start.
and Lamb. 2 QB, you start Dak
Stevenson,
and
I
Mac
think.
Jones, and then you play Stevenson as well.
I think
Yep.
you
What about Mac
flex
Jones?
him.
I think you play Mac Jones in 2 QB leagues.
I would start him.
I would sit
Only
him.
in 2 QB.
Yeah,
I think
I'd
he'll
play him.
put on a top 12 performance this week. I do, especially with Diggs being out.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that is helpful. That's very helpful.
Okay.
All right, next
Arizona
game.
versus San Francisco. I don't think it's going to be like the Dallas game. I don't think Arizona gets lucky twice. San Francisco's favorited by 14 points. So they expect.
And I think that's a little low. I think San Francisco wins by 21-30. You know what I mean? Like,
You know who's quietly been actually pretty good? Because remember when I said Josh Allen was third in completion percentage at 72.7. You know who's fourth? Joshua Dobbs at 72 on the dot.
Joshua Dobbs is balling out.
He also has 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's taken 5 sacks, but
He has 3
playing
total touchdowns
well
this year.
for what he's got.
500.
he's a very smart
yards.
quarterback. As a Steelers fan, I'm happy that I get to witness him
run.
succeeding.
He can run.
He can run. He can pass. He takes sacks on downs that he needs to take sacks on. Like Josh Downs is like your most like game manager quarterback you'll ever see.
He's
Like,
very efficient.
He's very efficient. He's very good on like fantasy stats. He's not going to throw a lot of picks. So if you're in a Superflex league, Dobbs is definitely worth the waiver acquisition. I think he scores 2 touchdowns this week, but I think San Francisco takes care of business.
I think San Fran's just a different breed of monster. I don't think Arizona. I think the only person like you can start is James Conner, just because he's just been producing.
Yeah.
And if you need a dart throw flex and you're thin at wide receiver, then Hollywood Brown or Michael Wilson, they've been playing okay. But other than that, I don't think you're thinking about anyone else in Arizona. I think
Same.
you fire up everyone on the offensive side on San Fran. You CMC, Purdy, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, and heck, you might even be able to get flex Elijah Mitchell this week. But
Yeah.
I think San Fran gets it done pretty easily, like 31-10.
Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be a challenge for San Fran. It's going to be a pretty one-sided game. Pretty lopsided.
Okay.
But I also thought that with Dallas versus Arizona, so I don't fucking know.
I don't think they get
And
lucky
if-
twice. This is a Super Bowl caliber team versus a barely fringe mid team. Like you'll see the
It
talent
doesn't matter.
discrepancy.
It doesn't matter. Any given Sunday.
Any given Sunday.
Yeah,
Any
Any
given
I
given
think,
Sunday.
Sunday.
I think there is a chance. I think there's a whole chance in hell that the Cardinals pull this out. But realistically, San Francisco wins by 14. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, when the Eagles were fucking 12-0, 13-0, no one thought they were going to lose. But then they lost to a shit team that no one thought they would lose against any given Sunday. I think Arizona
Any given
has
Sunday.
a 35% chance to win this game. It's kind of what I would put it at. I don't think it's
I put
likely.
it at about
but
40.
I don't
I
think
put
it's
it
likely.
at fucking
Yeah,
10.
I don't think it's likely, but I think it's possible.
I think they have a
10.
10% chance of winning this game. Because at every position you look across the field, which running back would you rather have on your team? Connor or McCaffrey? Which quarterback? Purdy or Dobbs?
Okay.
Which wide receiver? Ayuk or Brown? Moore or Samuel? Which tight end? Ertz or Kittle?
That doesn't matter. That doesn't
Which
matter.
defense would you rather have? So your guys is 35 or 40%? Way too high for me. I'm going to have to.
I say about 20%, 20 to
Just
25.
comparing players doesn't fucking matter, right? That's not the point of it.
That's what a football team is made of. Players. And their
Yeah,
talent levels.
Well, no fucking shit. I thought they're made of fucking aliens.
Well, that would be why you never win a ring.
Are they? Why do you gotta always bring that up? What does
It's
that
fun.
make you feel good about yourself?
Oh, it's
Is
way,
that the only thing
way
you can win
more
at?
fun.
Okay, cool. Got
Hey,
it.
I win at fantasy
I've
football. That's
I've-
what's important.
The only thing. That's the only
I've
thing
won
you can
several
win at.
rings in fantasy.
You
I just
don't win
haven't
at it,
won
so
in
good.
one league.
So, anyways, I'm taking San Fran.
You know what? Every time you say that, Ben, I want you to say you have 4 rings.
I only have 3 at the moment.
No, but you've had 4.
No. I gave one away, and it was thrown away. So,
All right, but you've had 4. Cool.
And by the
3
way,
rings.
Travis, I double checked the
Four.
ESPN stats. I beat you that game in the championship round. Just so
suck
you know.
it, Travis.
No, you didn't.
Just so you know.
I
Yes, I
literally looked
did.
at it. I literally looked at it yesterday. I won the chip that year, but hey, I beat you by over 150 points.
Check.
Someone
Double check it. Pull it up
screenshot
right
it,
now.
throw it in the Discord. Kansas City against the Jets. I think Kansas City wins. Mahomes, Pacheco, and I don't know about any of the wide receivers, but start Kelsey. That's for sure.
Yes, sir.
On the other side, hope
Let's-
Brees Hall goes well, and Garrett Wilson
What?
continues to grab touchdowns.
How about we take a breather? Go ahead and look at chat real quick. Chat's going ahead and saying a lot of really good things. Let's go ahead and communicate with chat while we're in this in-between points. I think that this is a good point. We're about 75% through the games.
We literally only have 2 games left to cover. The fuck?
Yeah,
Hey, shut up.
80%. Pickett played great against the Raiders and has played better than any QB in the division in this season. Put down the pipe, no midseason bust. His upside is pointing way up. What do we think about that?
For who?
Were you not
7
listening?
over 8 said that. Kenny Pickett was the player.
That's who I was wondering. I like him going forward. I still believe.
Me too.
Hence why I picked him, and I'm playing him. I think this is a great week for him to get back, get his confidence back.
We see Jared Goff is the player that he's mentioning here. He's 35, so it shouldn't be a long-term, maybe 2-year tops. Even the best QBs, after 35 years old, the wheels fall off sooner rather than later. And he's not close to the best ever. 2 years is a safe deal. Right after then, play buff. Because is he going to play at a high level until he's 38 or 39? QBs tend to fall off a cliff at a certain point. He's great now, but we're talking down the road. I'd draft a quarterback, groom him for 2 years, paying high, then you have 2 years to groom the next guy, and you'll have him on his rookie deal for 2 years after him sitting.
Yep.
What do we think about that?
All right, so a lot to digest from that we just talked about. I really like what he was saying about let the quarterback sit for a year or two. Right? I think that provides a lot of value for a quarterback. So I definitely agree with it. And then he also made a good point about like not a lot of quarterbacks really play well. You know, when they're into early to mid 30s, kind of when they start going downhill for most quarterbacks, right? Besides really a select few.
Tom Brady, Otto Graham,
Peyton
Heineke,
Manning still played
Ben
decent
Roethlisberger,
well. Yeah.
whatever, yeah.
So exactly. So I mean, he made a lot of good points. 2-year deal would be fine with me. That's probably what I would like to do with Goff, like 2-year, 25 to 30 million each year type of thing, while also drafting a quarterback to try that I think could be a good project quarterback for that year or two to actually develop into something to be even special or even better, to take the reins over immediately. Because then at that point, like he said, you still have the 2 years on the rookie deal. So you still got a cheap quarterback for 2 years. And then you pay him after that 2 years if he's performing well, right?
Correct.
So I think there's a lot of valid points made in that statement. I like it. That's what I would do if I was a GM. 2-year deal for Goff, and then draft a quarterback.
If I'm the GM, what would I do? Jags are due. Too much challenge to lose the way that they have. What do we think?
The Jags are a very good team. I think they're a playoff team. I think they could make a run at the Super Bowl. I don't think they'll get there this year. Maybe not even next year, but we'll see. But I think they have the talent and the potential to actually get there. right? I really like their
Me too.
defense. I like their offense
Josh
even
Allen's a
more.
stud.
Yep. They got a very good dynamic offense with a lot of good pieces around them. They just need to I think they just really need to gel together and get that chemistry up. Because they got a lot of good pieces around Trevor Lawrence. They could very easily succeed. Not necessarily this year, but I think next year we'll definitely see them make a push into the playoffs, like push in the AFC title game. This year, I project them to lose in probably the wild card round type of area. But after that, I really like them.
Me too. Falcons are pretty one-dimensional. Stop the run and make their QB win the game.
Yeah.
That division, 9-8 might win the division.
Put the pressure on Desmond Ridder. I like it. Because he's still a very young quarterback, hasn't really shown that he's a top quarterback in the NFL yet. He has that potential. He could get there. Any quarterback really could. But if you stop the run game, you stop Algier and why am I forgetting his name?
Robinson Bijan?
Yes. You stop Bijan, you make that team have to play very ugly, and it gets ugly quick. Because last week against the Lions, he missed not a lot, but he missed quite a few wide open throws.
Significant passes, yeah.
He missed a lot of easy throws or throws that should have been easy for a player of his caliber in the NFL, right? So if you put all the pressure on him, it changes the whole dynamic of that game, and it could make it very ugly very quick.
I believe this statement is about Mac Jones. Jones has outplayed his talent. That's a good thing. But also a disappointment. He's well coached. Lawrence has zero stability with that organization, which I mentioned earlier. I was like, he doesn't have a room to let his roots grow.
Mm-hmm.
I think he hit that head on with talking about Mac Jones versus Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I take the Patriots in that matchup. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I still take the Patriots too. I think Mac Jones. I think, like we talked about earlier, right? I think Trevor Lawrence is the better quarterback and he's the more talented quarterback.
Talent-wise, yeah.
Right, but I think Mac Jones is still smart enough and good enough that in that offense he can succeed and take them to the playoffs. I don't think they have the players to make it really any farther than the wild card round, unfortunately. As a Patriots fan, I want them to win the Super Bowl playoff stopping because I don't think they're really going to be like a Giants type team. We're very rarely going to see a fifth or sixth seed team make it to Super Bowl or even win it, much less. But I still really like Mac Jones. I think he's the perfect quarterback for the Patriots and what they want to do. I think getting rid of Matt Patricia as an offensive play caller was terrible. I don't know why Bill Belichick ever did that last year. But bringing back Bill O'Booble was I think as much as I hate him and what he did for the Texans and what he did to them, he's still a very good offensive coordinator for the Patriots in the scheme that Belichick wants to run because they're opening it up a lot more with the running and the passing game. Because like last year, we saw them just do a lot of dink and dunks type plays. That's not really the type of quarterback.
Did say, don't get me wrong, they should certainly make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think Mac Jones is this type of player that just wants to do dink dunks. That's not really where he excels. He excels at those, 10 to 15-yard passes, even 20 yards, right? And that's kind of what they've been doing a lot more this year.
Chat also said Dolphins are going to tail off as the season rolls on. That team is built for finesse. That shit don't work in November/December.
I don't disagree, right? Any team that starts hot can certainly fall off towards the end, and we've seen it plenty of times before.
Oh yeah.
So what's different about the Dolphins? They got a good enough team where they can continue the trend, but I think they're going to end up like 12-4. They're going to end up losing some games. At this point, I think they could still very well win that division. I think this game this week is going to be very telling of that and how they're going to do division-wise. I do think, but they do tail off, right? They're going to start falling off towards the end, but they're still going to be good enough to make a deep playoff run, I would say. That's kind of where I'm at with them.
I agree, especially with Rodgers down, and it's kind of become a 3-team race for that division. That helps. And then The fact that the Chiefs have a loss this early in the season for the first time since when? Bengals are struggling. The AFC North is beating the shit out of each other.
I mean, the Bengals struggled last year.
I don't know, but right now, Miami should, even if they do taper off offensively towards the end of the season, like the AFC is open enough. I think they're a lock for the playoffs.
Yeah, so they're going to taper off, but I don't think it's going to be significantly enough to actually really fuck them or really hurt them.
I mean, they almost beat the Bills in a playoff game last season in a high-scoring affair without Tua playing.
Yeah, and I don't think Josh Allen's good enough to carry the Bills. So I would like the Dolphins in that matchup. I like them this week, and I would like them in the playoffs with Tua healthy. With Tua in that game last year, I think it's a different story. The Bills go home.
I mean, they did a week later.
I mean, yes, but not in that game. So I like it. I'm with it. I'm rocking.
All right.
I'm rocking
So
and rolling.
Ben, what's our next matchup?
Seahawks versus Giants. 2-1 Seahawks versus 1-2 Giants. I just canceled out of my game betting line, so I don't remember what the line was, but I'm sure it's for the Seahawks because the Giants are sucking ass. Daniel Jones has done okay, but not good.
Daniel Jones, right?
He's done okay.
Ken Walker about to get another 2 tutties. Walker about to get another 2 tutties, and I'm so excited. That running game is going to be dominant. I don't think the Giants really have an answer. They played an okay secondary. Their secondary has been pretty good, but not great. The running game,
I go
a lot to be desired.
Seahawks. Start
front
Kenneth,
four. I don't think
Geno.
it's going to be able to do it. Stop both. I don't think that front four is going to do enough to stop Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, who are both very talented quarterback or very talented running backs. I like the Seahawks by a wide margin. I'd probably say they win by 17. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm not really starting anyone from the Giants unless Saquon is back. I don't think he is.
No, he's not back yet.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be. Yeah, I'm not starting anyone on the Giants either. That's just bad. I think Seattle's going to curb stomp them. It's going to be bad.
Yeah, probably.
I think you fire up Geno, you fire up Lockett, you fire up DK. You can probably flex JSN this week. You fire up Kenneth Walker as well.
If you had to choose between one, JSN or Lockett for this matchup.
Lockett.
Yeah, I tried the JSN thing last time.
Just because of, I'm going to say Lockett by a decent margin right now. But I think this game's pretty lame for a Monday night matchup. I think there's hope.
Monday night matchup's kind of weird because I don't think it's going to be a very high scoring affair. I think it's going to be high. You know what? I'm going to take that back. I think it's going to be like a 35-21 type win for the Seahawks. Still be up there in scoring.
What about the Chiefs and Jets?
Chiefs Jets. That's going to be a lopsided affair.
Yeah, I think Kansas City just destroys them as well.
Even half Chiefs.
Even though I think the Chiefs, like the Jets, have a defense that can make Kansas City work for it. There's just like, even if they do get the 3 and outs on the downs, what's the Jets going to do on offense? 3 and out themselves and give the ball right back. So
with a couple interceptions.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I mean, Patty Mahomes very realistically could go for like 350 passing. Kelsey's probably going to have himself a 100-yard game with a touchdown or 2. Chiefs running game is going to be mediocre.
I think you could play Pacheco again this week.
I think he's flexible. Maybe. Yeah.
I don't like Pacheco in this matchup.
I don't really think
he's flexible. I think he's one of my sits for the week. 110%.
Yeah, I mean, and then for the Jets, I'm sitting everyone.
Yeah, I'm sitting Garrett Wilson even too.
I'm not trusting.
I start Breece Hall and flex.
Personally, I mean, I'm not starting him. I don't think he's worth it.
I do.
Depending on, well, I mean, I guess it kind of also really just depends on your team you have, right?
Yeah.
If you're deciding between Breece Hall and like Pacheco, because they're both on your team, I'd probably lean Breece Hall because I think he has a better chance at succeeding and scoring. I think the Jets defense is better than the Chiefs defense and has a better.
What you thinking, Ben?
For this game, I mean, I already said it.
He's not at all.
No, Yeah, he's not
Flex Brees. Flex Garrett.
Start sits.
Yeah, and obviously on the other side, I would start Pacheco. I know you said sit him. Start Mahomes, obviously, and hope to God you hit on one of the wide receivers. Otherwise, just start Kelsey. To me, it's not an entertaining game. I think it's lopsided. I think it's Chiefs. It's not close. There's nothing the Jets are going to do. If I think there's 2 blowouts,
31-17.
this is my second one that I think is a blowout. I don't think it's good at all.
Yeah.
32.
So final wrap ups.
Chiefs by 21.
We're-
Easy.
Final wrap ups.
You'll give the Chiefs by 21,
Atlanta,
but you won't
Jacksonville.
give the
Lock in. Austin.
fucking 49ers. Okay.
Jacksonville. Jacksonville.
Wait, Sham, what
Atlanta,
did you say?
Jacksonville. Austin, who wins?
Jacksonville.
Who?
Jacksonville is what he said.
Ben?
Jacksonville.
Travis said Jacksonville as well.
Yep, Jacksonville.
I think Atlanta pulls it out.
That's fair.
Miami, Buffalo.
Miami.
Miami.
Denver, Chicago.
Denver.
Chicago.
1.
Chicago.
No,
Split.
it's a tie. Don't forget.
Yeah, tie. Yeah, you know what? I'm sticking to it. 13-13 tie. There's the score.
I'm here with it. I'm with the vibe.
So 2 ties and 1 for
Oh,
each.
God.
1 Denver, 1 Chicago. Nice. Okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Baltimore, Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Baltimore.
Cleveland.
Baltimore all day.
Los Angeles, Indianapolis.
Rams.
Indianapolis.
Los Angeles.
Colts.
I'm going to say Colts.
Bengals, Titans.
Who day?
Bengals.
Titans.
Who day?
Who day?
I'm going
Who
Titans.
day?
Titans.
Who day?
Who day?
Bengals.
Titans win.
What? Motherfucker. What? He just flipped a 180. I don't like that. I don't approve. No.
Hey, I'm a
Redo.
Steelers fan.
Redo.
Honestly-
Pause.
Honestly, I think Cincinnati wins by 14. That's
Thank
what
you.
I honestly think happens. Okay, cool. Thank you.
I approve.
Tampa Bay, New Orleans.
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Nolans.
I'm going to flip it and go with Tampa Bay.
Ben?
Tampa Bay.
I'm going to go with Saints.
I want to flip it and go
Why
with
Tampa Bay, Ben?
Defense
Why?
is slightly better than New Orleans, and if they do have Jameis Winston in there, I think it'll make a big enough impact that just give them the edge fairly, but it will. So that's why.
So what if Derek Carr starts?
Oh, probably the Saints.
Okay.
Yep.
Washington,
don't.
Philadelphia.
Close. I think he pulls it out.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
But I think it's a really good game.
Ben?
Fly,
Eagles.
Eagles, fly. Unfortunately.
I think it's Eagles
I'll
easy.
take Washington.
Respectable.
I
I'll take
can-
Washington.
I can see a world where Washington wins.
Respectable.
I could see the world where Washington wins. It's a visual
wouldn't-
matchup. It's a big game for Washington. They're looking at this thing like a playoff berth, and that's what it is. You know, that's why I'm taking Washington right here. Minnesota, Carolina,
Minnesota.
Panthers, Austin, Ben.
I'm going Minnesota.
Neither? Is that an option?
He said
Is it-
neither.
Is that an option?
Are they,
You
so,
can tie.
you want them to tie. So this is your
Kind
tie.
of, but I'm still pick the Vikings.
Pittsburgh, Houston.
Pitt,
Houston.
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
I'm gonna ride the wave.
Steelers.
Texans. I'm gonna ride the wave. Texans. Let's go.
Vegas, Angeles.
Chargers all day.
I'm gonna go Vegas.
I think Garoppolo's played like absolute ass, and Josh Jacobs has too. Like their defense has been Vegas' defense has been okay, and Devontae Adams has played good, but other than that, everyone else on their team's been bad.
Vegas.
I'm taking Chargers.
You know what?
Let's go
I'm
Vegas.
taking Amir Abdullah.
Ben?
That name should ring a bell for Lions fans. But
I'm gonna put
anyways,
that in my toilet.
no, I think
I'm about to
Yes,
take
sir.
one over
I
the
think I'm going
toilet.
to take the Chargers.
Patriots, Cowboys, at
Patriots.
Dallas,
Patriots.
Patriots,
Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Taking hardcore Dallas.
Cardinals, 49ers,
49ers.
Niners.
I thought we were
Go
all
49ers.
so obsessed with Arizona having
Ben?
a chance that we argued that for like 10 fucking minutes, and you guys just come out right and go
No,
49ers.
Only Austin did.
And if you fucking listen,
Only Austin
listened,
argued that.
yeah, because Ben's dumb as shit. If you fucking listened, we said there's a chance that Arizona wins. We didn't say we thought they'd win. We said there's a chance.
If
There's a
you're
bigger
arguing on
chance.
behalf of it, you think there's more than a chance. Anyways, 49ers.
No, there's
Yeah,
a chance.
that's how that works.
Said 35%.
Chiefs.
That's not how that works. That's how it works. in your
Okay,
little
then what's
brain,
the
but that's not how it
chance
works in
take
real
that the
life.
Jets upset
You're taking
the
the Jets?
Chiefs? What's the chance the Jets upset the Chiefs?
50%.
1% chance.
So you give more chance
Like
to
1%.
50%.
Arizona to beat the 49ers than the Jets to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's because Arizona's a better team.
I don't know. Defensively and
Arizona's
a better
offensively,
team.
weapon-wise, I'd
Let's
say
go
the
and finish
Jets
this
are
out.
better. The Chiefs, obviously.
Let's
I
finish
mean,
this out.
That's fine.
Seahawks,
You're wrong.
Giants.
Seahawks.
I'm going to go
Seahawks.
Giants.
Seahawks all day. Easy. That's
Okay.
fine, but you're wrong.
I don't have much
Do we
faith
have
in
any
it.
sleepers that we want to recommend before we go ahead and end this?
Well, this week is the week to start Quentin Johnson because
Yeah.
Williams is out for the rest of the
I think,
year.
I
Calvin
think
Austin might
it's
be a player
Joshua
that you want to
Palmer.
look into.
And that's actually what I was going to bring up. Joshua Palmer, I think, is a very good. Him and Tank Dell, I think, are two very good sleepers this week.
I think Calvin Austin's a respectable sleeper. He's going into Houston's defense. They don't have a great coverage on the third guy. You know,
He could
they
be
might
very
throw him
good.
out for 30 snaps and, you know, he catches 10 balls and gets 100-plus yards and gets a TD. Like,
I'm
that's
going
a
to
realistic
say
scenario for Austin. If
Kyle-
you go off free agency, I would do so.
Kyle Pitts has another fantasy relevant week this week.
Spicy. I could agree with that. I could see that. I think Joshua Dobbs will have a fantasy relevant week.
Ben?
I already said Joshua Palmer and, oh gosh, who was the second one?
He did.
There's two that I threw out there. Joshua Palmer, and it was another. Oh, Tank Dell. Those are my two, I think, sleepers.
Yep, Tank down.
Alrighty, so that wraps that one up for
I'm with
today.
it.
Go ahead and head over to Facebook, The Sporting Lounge. Hop in that. TikTok, The Sporting Lounge. Twitch, The Sporting Lounge. And also go give Shane a follow at Derpramation. It's right above his wall, as you can see. Give him a follow. Hop in the Discord,
Derpination.
talk with us, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Join the Instagram. We got one of those too.
Bananas.